All right, everybody, welcome to the Killer Main podcast series. This week we have Huntress as our main killer, and if our guests would like to introduce themselves real quick.
Yo, what's up? I'm Squirtle, Squirtle Surgeon, full legal government name, and I play way too much Huntress.
And where can people find you, Squirtle?
Mostly on twitch.tv/Squirtle Surgeon or YouTube, same name.
All right, and all that'll be below as always. You guys should check out Squirtle. I've had many good interactions with Squirtle, and I love the random clips I get on Twitter from them. So the first question, as always, is how long have you been playing Dead by Daylight?
I have been playing for 8 years. I started playing pretty much right after the game first released.
Was there any particular thing that got you into it, or was it just like, this game looks sick, I'm going to play it now, and then you devoted your whole life to Huntress?
Honestly, it was like, one of my friends was like, hey, I found this game that we should play together. So we started playing all the way back when, to queue with your friends, you had to snipe them in lobbies because there was no playing with your friends initially.
Oh yeah, that's right. There was no Swift when the game came
There
out.
wasn't even a survive with friends option. You just had to like queue at the same time and hope to load in with each other.
So fucking weird. I can't even imagine that.
It was definitely a time. It was interesting.
Man. And that's when the game went down. I'm kidding.
Yeah, it all went downhill from there. No.
So the big question, as for all mains of every character, gets asked this question a million times. But why Huntress?
Yeah. So I actually have a really interesting story as to how I came to maining Huntress. Because for a very, very, very long time, I didn't play killer at all.
Mm-hmm.
I would touch killer for dailies, and that was pretty much my life for the first like 4 years of playing the game. And then at some point 4 years ago, I liked Billy a lot, so I started playing him a bunch. Couldn't really tell you why, I just liked this kit. Didn't play like any other killer. Hadn't even touched Huntress yet. And then about, I would say like 2.5 years ago, I just like decided that Huntress was cool as a killer concept and was like, what if I learned this killer? And I got really good at her really fast. I don't know, it just clicked. So now I've just been hard maining her ever since.
Was there any other range killers before Huntress, or was it just Huntress is it?
Nope, straight to Huntress.
I mean, it's weird to think that you didn't start with Huntress from the beginning. It's just actually kind of surprising the more I think about it.
Yeah, I really didn't play her until 2 years ago.
I feel like I didn't start seeing your clips until like a year and a half ago, so that makes sense.
Yeah, pretty much.
So the other big question is changes. Before we get into what should be changed, I do want to ask about the recent changes they did to Huntress. The 7 hatches, the increased wind up, probably other stuff I don't remember.
Yeah, there was a lot.
Do you have any strong opinions on those changes?
I definitely think that they kind of gave her too much in that buff as a base kit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in reality, when you look at it, they basically gave her 4 add-ons base kit, which is ridiculous for any killer in any standpoint as a buff. Especially a killer who already wasn't, like, horrible. I definitely think Huntress is weaker than people often say she is.
Mm-hmm.
But I also believe that partially gets negated by ping in this game. I believe that's a strong reason as to why people think Huntress is so good, and all these other things about her is because the servers are bad.
Well, I think another thing is, so I haven't been shy about this. Getting a Huntress main on here was one of the most challenging things, because I didn't, I mean, no offense by saying this, I didn't know who to get. Because
which is fair.
There's a lot of Huntress mains.
There's so many. She's the most saturated killer. Yeah. There's so many Huntress mains.
So I think because she's so saturated and so played, that the idea of her strength is often misrepresented sometimes. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I also believe that part of the reason is how overplayed she is.
Because, like, I mean, you have more opportunities to see her at her best versus a lot of the other
Very
killers. True. As far as the changes, I know the general community sentiment is that it didn't need to happen, but the only thing about the changes I'm not really the biggest fan of was the wind-up. Otherwise, I'm cool with the rest of it.
I'm very similar. I don't think 7 Hatchet's base kit was needed.
Mm-hmm.
I think keeping those to add-ons was fine. Extra Hatchets as add-ons was perfectly fine. I really don't think that needed to be changed.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I don't think she needed wind-up and cooldown. I think it should have been one or the other.
I would have been fine with cooldown. The wind-up is just...
Yeah, definitely the one change that I was really okay with was the movement speed while holding a hatchet. That one, I think, definitely.
The PTB or the one they added alive?
The one they added alive. PTB was ridiculous.
I was going to say, we were about to have a fight right there.
No, PTB speed was not okay. But the one that is in the game currently is, I think, is a perfectly fine addition.
And then the add-on changes they did, I know we all kind of hate that they added haste to a bunch of them, but, you know...
Yeah, little, very strange decisions on that front, in my opinion. But, like, I don't know, nobody uses them, so it's like, eh.
I mean, they pretty much did the same thing to Clown, so...
Yeah.
I have a feeling it was the same person doing the coding at the time, so they were just, like, copy and pasting it.
Would not be surprised.
But apart from the changes she got recently, is there... A lot of people don't necessarily claim she's a perfect killer. I know hate for Huntress has definitely been getting bigger as time has gone on. 2v8 did not help that.
Yeah.
I have not made this shy. I despise playing against Huntress.
A lot of people do.
I don't know. I feel like I didn't start seeing it until 2v8, like the hate train, like start to show up. I don't know.
It was definitely very prevalent before it, but 2v8 made it like apparent to everyone because you couldn't avoid her no matter what.
Mm-hmm. But with the other than the changes they've done recently, is there anything else you think Huntress necessarily needs as far as changes go?
Honestly, not really. I feel like she's pretty fine where she is. People can argue about hitbox changes needing to happen. But again, I think the biggest thing is learning the hitbox for Huntress. If you hate her is important. Just learn what the hitbox is. And then be very conscious of it. Because there's a reason that it is like that. Because we've had patches in the past where the devs fixed her hitbox and made them accurate, and she no longer functioned as a killer. Like, your hatches would just go through things, and people, like, you couldn't play Huntress when those patches were live. So there's a reason that the hitboxes are the way they are currently.
Yeah, it's like bullet magnetism in FPSs. It's like, that's a necessary evil. Because if it was truly accurate, it would be miserable to play.
Exactly. So in those senses, I do believe that her hitboxes don't really need to be changed. That being said, I would love if the servers could get updated. That'd be really nice, but not really a Hunter specific thing. That's just for a lot of killers, to be honest.
I mean, maps too. I mean, it's another.
Yeah.
I think that one's
absolutely.
To be fair though, with maps, as I always bring up, I feel like some maps being bad, I think, is a necessary evil. Unfortunately.
I agree. I don't think every map needs to have the same balancing, because that's how you lack variety very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Add-ons are another big one. We're going to get to the community questions at the end of this, but a lot of questions were about Iridescent Hatchet.
Just like what I think of it?
Yeah, do you think it should be changed, or that it's fine?
So, honestly, I think it's fine now. Mm-hmm. I think, if anything, it's a meme add-on now. Because of the fact it's a single hatchet. Like, it's, you know,
it can completely change a game.
It can, but like, so can a Huntress who's just okay at Huntress throwing 2 hatchets.
Fair.
Like, the arguments that people make for it a lot of the time are like, well, camping hook, and it's like, a Huntress with a single wind-up add-on can do the exact same thing.
Pretty much.
Like,
I mean, not even pretty much. Like almost yes. Like
you can do the exact same thing. You can force a trade. Like there's a lot that you can do to do the exact same things that Eerie Head does. Even if you run double halved, you get a ton of downs where you throw a hatchet and then immediately melee them because they're animation locked or something like that. Like when you look at the amount of times that a Huntress can get very close to an insta down, I just don't see it being overpowered. But I do think it is like a strong meme add-on. I don't think it's a useless add-on at all.
I think it's more just frustrating to go against than anything. But then again, it's a lot.
It definitely can be very rough.
It's a lot of stuff in this game, to be fair. I've suggested changes for it in the past, and I'm genuinely curious how you would feel about this. We up it to 3 hatchets, but they have to be 24 meters at least to get the
that's a change that's been suggested for like 6 years that I really don't have any problem with. I honestly think it would be fine. The only thing that I have to say with that is we're talking about behavior and we're talking about how inconsistent their code is.
Isn't there's an achievement for it, isn't there? For 24 meters?
There is. It's 24 meter downs. But even there. Like even in some ways that achievement is not totally realistic in the 24 meter sense. I've seen people get the achievement with like melee hatchets.
What?
Like genuinely, yeah. Like the 24 meter tracker is mostly fine. It's mostly accurate, but some patches it just completely breaks for some reason.
It doesn't. For this game, it doesn't surprise me at all.
So that's like part of it. Is like I don't know how consistent it would be. If it was very consistent, then I think it would be fine change. I don't think anyone would really have that much of an issue with it.
Yeah, I think the other add-on people were asking about was her other iridescent, which is a strange add-on. I'll just say that.
Yeah, I don't know why it's iridescent. I'll say that much.
It's unique. I mean, it's different at least, kind of.
Honestly, it's an add-on that I think would be interesting. Base kit with nerfs to her current base kit. That's something that I thought they would actually do. I thought they were going to make that add-on base kit when they announced the Huntress like tweaks. Like I really thought that was like one of the options that would happen, not what they did.
You mean the random stuff that no one asked for?
The random 4 buffs that she got. It's very strange. But yeah, like I don't know. Definitely a weird add-on.
Do you so I threw in Teachables in there. I've been doing this more recently because I think it's a fun talking point, and Huntress is definitely a good one to do this for. Huntress is Teachables, for those who don't know, and I wouldn't blame you. Huntress Lullaby, Territorial Imperative, and Beast of Prey. 2 of those are probably...
AKA some of the worst perks in the game.
2 of those have almost no point to existing, and one of them is a hex that does basically nothing. I'm genuinely curious. I don't know if you've ever thought about it. Do you have any ideas for changes for those perks?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've like kind of thought about it because like also for Huntress,
they're so bad for her.
They're so bad. Like they're horrible, horrible perks for her. The only one that has any debate at that point is Huntress Lullaby, purely for the fact that technically you could get like generator value from across the map and get like a shot or something, but there's so many other perks that do it better. But like also like Territorial Imperative being a killer that is a 110 with no movement,
well, on top
like
of
no
that,
mobility option.
Even if you go to basement, it's like
they're gone. Like what do you
just M1 them? You're in basement.
So it's like I don't know what they were thinking exactly. Like I know what they were thinking, but I don't know what they were thinking. Like thematically, they make sense, I guess. Lore wise, they could make sense, but like definitely interesting.
I don't know. I feel like Beast of Prey is honestly just it's just a bad, but like I can see an argument for, oh well, you can get territorial imperative value with this killer in this situation. Okay, all right, cool. Huntress Lullaby, it's a meme one. You can use it in like a skill check build. Okay, cool. Beast of Prey, I can think of no killer or no situation where it is useful.
It's pretty much one of those things where it's like passive phasing on Spirit, where like it will every now and then give you a free hit because it's just not what the survivor was expecting. Like,
yeah, but like
that's about it.
You have to play bad to get it.
Yeah, like you have to be in a not good situation in order to get value out of it.
Yeah, like I said with territorial, it's like it's not necessarily you playing bad. You just have to play a little different, I guess. But like Beast of Prey, you literally have to get blood. I've had people suggest that it's okay on Chucky, and I'm like, no, it's not.
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
it's not. And I don't even know what they could do to change it unless Bloodlust changes completely.
Like, yeah, I have no idea, to be honest.
It's such a weird thing, and like you said, it doesn't even work for Huntress. It's like you're never getting Bloodlust as Huntress.
Yeah, like you would never ever get Bloodlust, and also like half the time when you get downs as Huntress, you're not even in chase.
Yeah,
the chase never starts, so it's like I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, and then Huntress Lullaby. The only thing I think they should do to Huntress Lullaby is once either A, the totem doesn't spawn until you get at least one stack, or B, when it's cleansed, it keeps the stacks it had.
Yeah, I've thought about that as well. I kind of like the idea of it not spawning until it gets a stack, because having it be cleansed before it even activates is like crazy to me. And honestly, in a way, I have the same feeling with Devour.
I have the same feeling for every hex in the game.
That's fair.
I've said in the past, like I feel like behavior is learning that lesson with the more recent hexes. Like the last true. Like the last 5 hexes we've gotten have an activation condition before they light.
Yeah, so that would be cool to see, to make it just a slightly viable in any way.
Apart from Doctor and I guess Unknown, kind of.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't know. They're a bygone era perk, I feel. At least all 3 of them are. And
yeah, they're very outdated.
It's just very funny that like Huntress is one of the free characters, and same with Wraith, and they just have such bad perks. Oh man.
Yeah.
Like I really would love them to do an update on them. I don't think they ever will, but whatever. As far as her other add-ons go, I can't really think of any off the top. Like her add-on design is okay. Like I can't think of any that are like bad for the game in any way.
Yeah, I don't think any of them are bad. The ones that used to be bad were the exhaustion hatchets back before exhaustion got changed. Because basically the problem with it was like you would get exhausted for 60 seconds. And the way that exhaustion used to work is while you were running, your exhaustion would still go down, just at a slower rate than if you were standing or crouching. So it was a fine add-on. Like it was genuinely like, it was kind of annoying, but it wasn't that bad. It was like, it made sense. But then they changed exhaustion, where if you're running, your exhaustion does not go down at all. And they didn't change the add-on for a year. So that was really fun if you ever got an exhaustion Huntress, because you were just never going to use your exhaustion perk ever.
I mean,
but now that that's fixed, I don't got one. I think they're all fine.
Yeah, I mean, with the exhaustion thing, I mean, we have so many ways to add exhaustion now. It's not all of them are great, but like, I mean, if you really don't want to deal with exhaustion perks, you can make a build to not deal with exhaustion perks.
Yeah, literally.
Languid, in my opinion, is still one of the better ones, and I really think it's being slept on right now.
Fair.
Well, I mean, it doesn't counter sprint burst, but it counters. It doesn't really counter life either, but it counters dead hard, which is. I'm biased because my killer gets destroyed by dead hard, but still. So moving on a bit though, builds you run. Now before you answer this question, it's not the. Is it just the full aura build most of the time, or are you running something a little bit more serious?
No, that's pretty much the only build I run. I will say I do actually have a win streak build. I want to do a Huntress win streak soon because that's just something like I would definitely say that like one of my weaker elements of Huntress is chase in a lot of situations. Like a lot of maps I just like don't think while I'm playing them because I don't want to, because I don't like the map. Which leads to me getting rolled a lot.
What, like Larry's?
Larry's, but even like Mother's Dwelling and like some of the outdoor maps that I just don't think are fun. I just kind of turn my brain off and just go for stupid stuff. So my chase on those maps, if I'm actually trying, is not good. So I kind of want to go for a win streak. So I do have a win streak build for that, which is pretty much based on Numi's build.
What is it? Pain res, pop. I don't know. Yeah, I feel bad. Numi's in chat. I don't remember what it is.
The one for Huntress is Pain Res, Corrupt Intervention, Grim Embrace, and Agitation.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense.
And then for add-ons, I run Double Haft. I like Double Haft for stuff. I don't know. You can make the argument for like Babushka Haft or Double Haft. They're both pretty up there. But I like Double Haft because you get those M1 hits out of a Hatchet a lot with it. So that's why I run it. But that's, like I said, that's for like a win streak, really want to win type thing. Normally I run Barbecue and Chili, Darkness Revealed, Gearhead, Lethal Pursuer, and then Oak Haft with deerskin gloves.
No glowing concoction?
I actually don't like glowing concoction.
Really?
I have this thing where I just really like hitting prediction hatchets.
Okay.
Like follow-ups without the aura from it. But I run full aura because I like knowing where people are. I just don't like it in chase. I like the feeling of predicting.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think
it's just highly satisfying for me.
Yeah, and I definitely feel like sometimes glowing concoction is a I don't want to say noob trap, but it's definitely training wheels sometimes for some people, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of those add-ons that's like, it's good if you're learning, for sure. Like, no doubt. Is it good if you're trying to win? Not really. But I mean, it's one of those add-ons that it's not bad at all.
Yeah, it's always good. That's the thing. It's one of those, right? Like, there's never a match I'll run into where it's like, damn, I ran glowing concoction.
Pretty much
most of the time.
The other thing is, if you hate distortion, it eats distortion stack. So,
what's Huntress's terror radius? It's 24, right?
Her actual terror radius, I believe, is 20. No. I knew this question. Why am I blanking?
How dare you not know everything offhand? How dare you?
I know. Because her lullaby is 44 meters.
Really? It's that far? I thought it was 32.
Nope, it is very far. I believe her terror radius is 32. No, it has to be.
No, you're right. It is 32.
No, it has to be.
Yeah. Hers is 32. I was confusing her with Old Deathslinger. My bad.
Well, I think it was really short for a while. It might still be like 20.
I'm pretty sure.
I'm
pretty sure it's 32 because they were trying to normalize terror radiuses for a while there.
They were. I know for a very long time, at the least, for a very long time, like many years, it was like 20 meters. But I can't remember if it's still 20 or if it's 32. But yeah, her Lullaby is 40 meters.
Yeah, I was just curious because of distortion. I was like, how often if she doesn't build the stacks as fast, but yeah, no, you mentioned it. She probably builds it just as fast as everybody else, unless you're running fucking what is it, Wooden Fox, the undetectable one?
Yeah, Wooden Fox.
Yeah, which
that's a fun add-on.
Wooden Fox, I feel like, is the good guy box of the Chucky mains for Huntress mains. It's an add-on that some will die on the hill of. Is like her best add-on.
It's just a really fun add-on, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I personally don't run it that much, but I totally get why so many people do.
Yeah, I mean, I can see the argument for why some people think it's great, but it's more fun than anything. Just being undetectable and them not having any idea where you are, even based off the lullaby.
Yeah, exactly.
So the next question is this is more of an esoteric one, but state of the game. This is kind of off topic from Huntress a bit, but how would you say the state of the game is? And for context of this, this is like a few days after Dracula came out to live.
I'm gonna have to give the game state right now a nice thumbs down.
Really?
I'm not gonna berate it at all. I don't think it's in the worst state it's ever been, but I would range it into the not great category at the moment.
What are your major issues right now?
I definitely think right now the games are this might be a weird take. I think the games are too fast at the moment.
I agree.
In any way you look at it. The strongest killers can end the game too quickly, and the weakest killers get overrun too quickly. I think that's just, very simply put, the games are too fast. Some of them end in literally 5 minutes. That's ridiculous for DVD. That is crazy.
On both sides, by the way.
on both sides. I mean, like a bunch of killer world records right now are under 2 minutes. Yeah. That's ridiculous. But also Survivor's 4 outing can be in under 4 minutes. Like that's crazy to me. You know what I mean? So I believe right now that games are too fast. I think generators need to be slightly longer again. That's one of my hot takes. I would like to add another 10 seconds to generators again. I didn't like that change when it came out, and over time I have progressively continued to not like it more and more. And not just as a Huntress player.
Well, hang on.
But just in general.
You want them to take 10 seconds longer, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Just making sure. I wasn't sure if I heard you wrong. I was like,
no, you're right. No, 10 seconds longer. I think they should be 10 seconds longer. So that's I'm
gonna say my hot take I've said for years. I think 60 seconds of corrupt intervention should be base kit.
Yeah, I'm very much in the train of corrupt being base kit. I believe that that's perfectly fine as a base kit perk. I think it's a very good balancing perk, actually, if you take into consideration how the game functions, and it creates a immediate killer pressure that is lacking in the game right now that used to exist. And this is something that this is my opinion on why corrupt would be a good base kit perk. Basically, right now, right when the game starts, the killer has no pressure. Zero pressure in any way, shape, or form. However, that used to not be the case because survivors used to actually be scared of the killer. And I mean that in a literal way of killer used to be stronger than survivor at one point for like chase. Because survivors were bad. Not because the game was balanced, but because survivors were bad at the game. They didn't know how to play, so there was an inherent fear in the killer. This is like a many years ago type of thing. And slowly over time, that fear grew less and less and less and less to the point now where you no longer fear the killer. You just know you're supposed to run away from them because you don't want to die. Right. But there's no fear at all. It's just, I want to win. So there's no like inherent instant pressure.
Well, no, I mean, it's like you spawn right next to a gen, you get on it. There's no reason not to.
Exactly. And if you look at old Survivor gameplay, that wouldn't happen. If you watch old gameplay, people will load into a match and then immediately walk to the edge of the map and hide. Like, without fail.
Some people do still do that, to be fair.
Some people do, but it's way less common.
Yeah, I know. It's
so that's the thing that I'm like, I feel like you need that startup pressure, and I feel like that startup pressure would be something like corrupt being base kit. And then of course, if you get it down, it goes away because you now have pressure.
Yeah, my idea has always been make 60-second corrupt base kit, and then the perk adds time to it.
Yeah, and I think that'd be a fine change. I mean, that's what they did with Bar Time, like,
because they were talking about years ago now an early game collapse kind of thing, and they said internal testing found it not to be fun, and they never said what they did.
Yeah, they never. I'm convinced they didn't do it. I'm convinced it never happened. I'm convinced that they never did that.
I mean, I wouldn't. No hate to the devs personally, but like I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't actually try anything. Like I said, like once again, maybe it's my killer bias, but like I just feel like corrupt intervention base kit just fixes so many problems.
It does. It really does, in my opinion, as well. It
fixes so many killers too.
It does. It fixes a lot of any killer that has setup, like Trapper Hag. Mm-hmm. It also gives them a buff that is, I don't think overwhelming in any way, but is useful.
And like the thing is, like it wouldn't really, like they could still bring corrupt if they felt like they absolutely needed it, but they wouldn't feel like they had to bring it anymore. So it also opens up a lot of build diversity too, I feel.
Absolutely. So I totally agree with that. I think that would fix a lot of the issues of the game currently, but I think there are some other issues that need to be addressed with how they're kind of trying to redesign maps and the tiles that they're trying to add that are very uninteractive.
What do you mean, the Colwyn map or the new Colwyn one is fine?
Oh yeah, don't you love just guessing? What do you mean? That's so fun.
That I got, you know, I'm not gonna lie, I got destroyed at that loop one or a few days ago. Like I wasn't really thinking too hard, and like I could not predict where they were to save my life.
And that happens sometimes.
Like I was just sitting there like, oh, they went to the window. Okay, they went back left. No, they went right. Okay, the pallet's still up somehow. Okay. Completely got lost inside a jungle gym. It was funny. Even like didn't they add one of those to the new Ormond? Am I misremembering that? I feel like they did.
I don't think it was that tile exactly, but I think it was. Did they? I don't remember.
New Ormond is also like. First off,
questionable.
I actually don't even think Ormond needed a change. Like it was still bad, but I don't think it was nearly as bad as some people make it out to be. But the new version is. I don't even think it's any bigger, but it feels bigger.
Yeah, it's because the gameplay is spread out more, which is what they were trying to do. So now it just feels like there's more of the map you have to worry about.
Yeah, which I think is a trend they keep doing with a lot of the newer maps.
Yeah, they do.
Which is definitely hurting more killers than others. Which is honestly, I mean, people have talked about this for years, but like the map design is probably the biggest problem with this game as far as balance goes, in my opinion. It's not the perks, it's not the killers themselves, it's the maps.
Yeah, maps are pretty much
and I know
epitome of bad.
Like we said earlier, like they can't just do the same map over and over again because some killers are going to be bad on some maps, but it's like there are some killers in this game that are bad on like 80% of the maps.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like because I've said before that I think the map should be survivor-sided, slightly being the key word. But some maps, I'd say a good like 30 to 40% of them are just, I mean, like, as much as I like Eerie, but Eerie Crows, Hawkins to a degree, RPD's questionable. It depends on who you ask, honestly.
Yeah, RPD's a coin flip.
Garden of Joy. I still think Garden of Joy is probably the worst offender, and they reworked it, which is insane to think about. Even like the new changes they did to Midwich are just kind of why.
I don't know. I actually kind of like the Midwich changes.
Really?
That map was getting that map. was really oppressive on a lot of killers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially killers that were already good. They were getting a little too much value out of that map.
Maybe I'm biased because I played a killer who sucked on that map.
Yeah. Which, like, it didn't make that map any better for those killers, but I don't think it made it that much worse for them either.
It kind of made it better. You know I main Chucky, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The new mid changes kind of made it better for, like, Chucky, because survivors can't just hold W down a hallway anymore. And then
that was a big thing that I like.
Yeah, and they can't just dip into a room immediately after to dodge. But I mean, like, the God windows are still, quote unquote, God windows. Once again, that one depends on who you ask and the definition you're using, I guess.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, the hallways are definitely not as boring, but I don't know. But once again, I haven't played on New Midwich enough to form a proper opinion. It just still seemed pointless to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I like the Midwich changes. I think they were.
And then Haddonfield.
Somewhat needed.
That completely did a 180 on its strength here.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a very good point where after they initially reworked it, I said this a lot, where Haddonfield was my least favorite Huntress map in the entire game by like miles. I hated playing on Haddonfield more than any indoor map.
The reworked one or the original one?
The reworked one.
Okay.
It was awful. I hated it. Because it was either you were in the middle of the street with no lockers, and fun fact, really, really open areas aren't actually good for Huntress because a survivor can move in any direction.
Yeah.
The other thing, you get to a building, you can't throw any hatches because all the corners are too tight. So I hated that map. It was so boring. I hated it. Was it her worst map? Not necessarily, but was it the most boring? Absolutely.
I'm glad you brought up
That's my take on Haddon.
I'm glad you brought up the open area thing. There's a question I've asked on every podcast that we're going to get into, and I'm very curious on your answer to this question.
Gosh,
we'll get to it in a minute, but yeah, like you said, I do think the game is definitely like it's weird because I've had matches that last way too long, but normally that's not because of. It's not normally because I'm playing well or whatever. It's usually because the other side is playing really, really bad. And I'm doing something stupid. Like, I did a slugging game the other day. It lasted 20 minutes.
Yeah.
They were still at 4 gens the whole time.
And I will say, another thing, if you look back in DVD history, 20-minute games were the normal.
Maybe...
For an extremely long period of time, games lasted 15 plus minutes. Like, almost every game. It was very common and very uncommon for games to be under 10 minutes. It would happen, especially with good killers, but not frequently.
Maybe I'm the weirdo here. Not in this conversation, but in like the community as a whole. I kind of prefer the longer games on both sides.
I do too. I think they're way more fun.
I like the idea of like there's these situations of ups and downs throughout the match, and that doesn't happen when it's really fast. It's just either a down or an up the whole time.
Yeah, I love long games. I think they're way more interesting. I think they're way more engaging. I think they're just more fun all around. You have more opportunity to do things. And I think there's more chance of variety happening in those longer games. So I miss them.
I think it's a symptom of like the gaming industry as a whole, because a lot of games are switching over to shorter matches. I mean, even League of Legends did for a little while there. They're kind of going back a bit, but like I don't know if you ever played League back or at all, but matches in that game when I played it used to be like 45 minutes minimum, and then they started slowing it down, and eventually it got down to where an average match was 15 minutes long.
Right.
Which, I mean, in the context of Dead by Daylight, is still a decently long match, but in that game that was incredibly fast. But that was what the devs straight up said. They were trying to lower the match times.
Yeah.
And I guess it's just something other people enjoy more, I guess.
I guess so.
I prefer the idea of a comeback happening, and that doesn't happen when the matches are 5 minutes long.
Yeah. I honestly think that's the reason that one of the games that I've switched to recently has been Valorant.
Yeah, Valorant definitely has...
I like the length of Valorant games.
Well, Valorant also has the what's the word I'm looking for? It has the advantage of while the game is long, the matches are short.
Yeah, like the rounds are very
quick. Yeah. So that definitely helps there. So they have a little bit of leeway with that. Games like Dead by Daylight and most MOBAs don't really have that luxury.
That is true.
Because some people would get sick of it. They'd be sick of I mean, I don't want it to go this far, but I mean, we all remember Chess Merchant.
Yeah. Those were times.
Those were dark days. And they still exist if you really want them to.
Very true.
But like, I don't know if the solution is necessarily just increasing gen times either, though.
It's not. I honestly think one of the things that would fix it, which this is a weird take, I think, is pushing gens to the edge of the map.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like what Swamp is like. How Swamp can have gens that literally spawn on the edge of the map, like against the wall. I think that is something that should be done more often to spread out gen distance, for both sides. One, it takes survivors longer to go between gens, that mild amount, and two, it makes holding generators harder. And I think that's something that would be an interesting change. I don't know if that's necessarily a good change, but I think it would be interesting to look at and see how that affects games.
I mean, I think gen placement is definitely something that they don't really do too well in most maps. It's the same thing with totem placement, but I mean, when everyone was complaining about the 3-gen meta at the time, it's like that was honestly one of my biggest solutions, other than what they ended up doing, was just make the gens spawn farther apart.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how the coding works, but like I feel like it's not that hard to do, relatively speaking.
Yeah, I don't think it would be either.
And I mean, the thing is, we do have to be careful with some of the changes to slow the game down, because it would mean that some killers would inherently get a buff from it. But I mean, as with most things, I would love to see them try it and then readjust as needed. But
yeah, I'd rather like a couple of killers get affected in either positive or negative ways than the entire game continuing to dwindle.
Yeah, and we have a PTB for a reason, and I feel like they don't use it for enough. They were for a little bit there, and then they kind of stopped.
Yeah, they used it for like 2 patches, and they said,
What's it?
I was like, well, that okay.
Rainbow Six did the same thing.
Yeah.
Like Rainbow Six was like, yeah, we're gonna start using our test server to test some really weird stuff and see how it goes. They did it for like 2 patches, 2 test servers, and then they never did it again. I guess it was just,
I don't know what's up with people doing that, but
I guess it's just a waste of time for them, because they're like, oh, well, these things didn't work. Even though, the whole point is to redo it and try it again. Base kit unbreak. Anyways,
yeah, right.
Like, I get everyone hated it, but man, just try it again. Readjust it. It's the whole point.
Go back to it. Just one more try.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting Mori soon, so.
True.
People are freaking out over that one, though. Even though they have said that it's not going to be the same as last time. But, and then, I mean, even like the perk changes they're doing as of late. Like, I'm cool with them nerfing some of the stuff they've been nerfing and buffing others, but like, they have been very flip-floppy on some perks. Like, it'll get buffed and then nerfed again, and then buffed again and then nerfed again. I think Pop and Pain Res are the 2 biggest culprits of this. And it's like,
absolutely.
I feel like they don't, like, it's telling me that they don't understand why everyone's bringing them.
I think that's a really big issue that they've had continuously with a lot of things, add-ons, perks, even some killers, is they just look at the statistics of how frequently they're brought and whether or not the game is won. They don't really think about why people bring it. And it happened to Billy, like engravings being the most used offering by far because they were fun.
Yeah.
But if you looked at like the win rate of them, they weren't necessarily the greatest, But they were up there because the best abilities in the game were always bringing engravings because, again, they were the most fun. They weren't even the best add-ons. Low Pro still existed, and other add-ons that were, very useful weren't run because they just weren't as fun, and people liked engravings. And then they were like, let's remove engravings. And it's like, no,
They didn't go through with it, at least.
This is true. We did get them to stop, but I feel like that was a perfect example of the devs completely misunderstanding why people play their game.
It's just like with pain res, I think is a good example too. It's like, even if pain res was 10%, even if it was like 5%, I guarantee you it would still be brought most games.
Oh yeah.
Because it's you don't have to think about it, and it works on literally every killer.
Yeah, because it's a hook mechanic. Like, you're already doing that.
Yeah, even like a Pyramid Head, people would say, "Oh, well, you don't really hook on Pyramid Head." First off, yes, you do. Second off, like it's I use Chucky as an example a lot of times because Chucky can't work with like most of any other regression perks in the game. He can work with pain res though.
Right.
Like, I mean, he can use some of the other ones. Like, he can use pop, but like, he's not the best user because he can't always get to the gen he needs to. But pain res, it doesn't matter. It goes to the most progressed gen. And like, is it like it's same thing with like perks on Survivor. It's like, why wouldn't you bring an exhaustion perk every game? Why wouldn't you bring an item every game, right? Well, now you kind of have a reason not to because Franklin's weave, but it's a whole other topic.
Mm-hmm.
Where I still think Franklin's weave is a necessary evil because of that.
I do think it would be interesting if they gave survivors a debuff for using an item.
I just make it so you get more blood points if you don't bring an item.
I don't think blood points would do it.
I mean, it probably wouldn't, but like I think it would help a little bit.
I think it would help for a very extremely small minority. I think we've hit a point where blood points no longer matter, and that's exactly one of the reasons that you see so many ultra rare add-ons run and items run is because we've stopped caring because of how abundant they are, and over time they've become so much more accessible, blah blah blah, which I'm fine with. It's just it has other side effects, and I think that's one of them. So I don't think blood point incentives would really change any of that at all.
I mean, we kind of saw that with 2v8. So.
Yeah, exactly.
My suggestion to fix the 2v8 lobbies, by the way, you don't pick your killer until you're in the lobby.
That would definitely help a little bit.
Oh no, it wouldn't be a massive help, but
it would help. It would help a little bit, but it wouldn't help too much. Because then the issue is like if you don't get the killer that you really want to play and you want to play them that bad, they'll just like dodge and find another lobby.
They will, but like I feel like it'll cut back on the actual waiting to get into a lobby, right?
It definitely would.
If that person doesn't want to deal with it, whatever, that's on them. But the other person's in the lobby already.
Yeah, I definitely think that would not be the worst change.
Because I mean, this kind of goes back to Huntress, but I mean. Of the killers in 2v8, she was definitely the most picked. I don't think there's any questions asked about that.
Yeah, not at all. It was like she had like a 90% play rate. Like,
it was and I hated that they did this. Nightlight, right? The website.
Yeah,
they were counting 2v8 statistics.
Right. So
like Huntress's play rate actually went up again because of it.
Yep.
She went from like I think she was at like 4% and it jumped up to like 8. Which is insane. Yep. It's just fucking nuts. But I mean like I think 2v8 also showed us bringing this up some things they can do to the game to make it slightly better. Even the anniversary event. As much as people hated remote hooks, it felt good.
Yeah.
Like it made the game faster, but in a good way, in my opinion. I wouldn't want a base kit or anything, but like a perk or something that revolved around it somehow. It did kind of suck because it it eliminated like the whole save elements, but I don't know. I said this for a while. I feel like slugging is going to become more popular soon, anyways. But it's just a me thing.
Oh gosh, I hope not.
Well, I mean, let's see. They just buffed Sabos. They just made the hook timers take longer. And if you don't hook people, that's like half of their builds gone.
I mean, that is true, but we're also getting like hooks respawning after being used to sacrifice.
That's true, but if people start realizing that breakdown's actually a pretty okay perk. I've seen it quite a few times over the past few weeks, if I'm honest.
That is also fair. I don't know, we'll see. I definitely think the whole thing of like losing an entire state for that effect though is like not totally worth
I mean, if one
it.
person's running it, I would agree with you, but if two people are running it at minimum, it can massively throw off your momentum on killer.
It can definitely be a little hurtful.
Especially if you're not expecting it.
I will say, if that is the case, I just think that agitation becomes popular again.
That might. Well, I mean, it already kind of is because it helps with scourge hooks, and I say scourge hooks. It helps with pain race.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you still don't really see agitation that much, and it used to be a very, very common perk.
Mm-hmm.
It was very popular for a very long time. So I believe that, if anything, agitation will come back into play. Maybe even Agi Iron Grasp as a combo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To completely negate it, because you're not saboing against Agi Iron Grasp.
No.
You're just not.
Yeah. And I mean, if it absolutely becomes nuts, I mean, it might be nuts, but some people might start bringing back grip. Just saying.
Gosh, that'd be really funny again.
It's or Starstruck. People might just start bringing Starstruck.
True.
It's a weird dichotomy though, because like I get what they're trying to do with like a lot of the changes, like with the Sabo buff. I understand the point. They're trying to make it so survivors have more to do, basically, and like more of a guarantee to do those things. But you know, if you constantly make it so the killers have to struggle to even hook somebody, they're just not going to hook.
Yeah.
And then like I said with the hook perks, it's like if they have off the record decisive strike, I mean, you completely avoid that if you just slug them. And while it's not like it doesn't affect like some of the top tier killers that much, I mean, why deal with it when you don't have to?
Yeah, that's very true.
And like even with like the 70-second buffer, so now 2 hook states takes what 60. It's 120 plus 20. That's 140 seconds versus 4 minutes, which is so it's a little. I mean, it's basically a little less than half. I just did my math wrong, but it's not like too ridiculously far off.
Right.
And once again, like I said earlier, it keeps your momentum. That's the biggest thing with me for slugging. It's like the act of hooking someone, even if you do it, takes forever.
It does take a good bit of time.
And it's a moment of reprieve for the survivors because they're like, oh, he's hooking. I can do whatever I want right now.
Yeah, that's also very true.
Like I said, like I don't know if it's gonna happen, but I have a feeling slugging is gonna become more popular soon.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
But we'll see, and then people will complain about that meta, and then Unbreakable will become base kit, and we'll be back in the same situation we were already in.
The Dead by Daylight cycle.
Like 6.1 was a patch I feel we need again. I know people hated it, but I feel like people hated it in retrospect. I feel like at the time, most people were fine with it.
No, people hated it when it came out too.
Really?
But I do agree with that patch. I think that patch was very fun. Overall, I think it changed things enough that it was fun.
I think like the 2 weeks after were some of the most fun I've had in this game, because no one knew what to run.
They were very fun.
Everyone was trying like different stuff. No one knew what to run. It was great. I did have a couple friends leave the game after that patch though, because Iron Will got nerfed. I remember very distinctly like 4 or 5 of my friends quit the game because Iron Will got nerfed.
Yeah, the Iron World change was stupid.
It should have been
But hey, it's back.
Yeah, it should have been one or the other when they did that. It's almost like that's what they should have done in the first place.
Yeah, that one was stupid.
I will say one problem I have with Iron Will right now is that I can't tell if someone has off the record or Iron Will anymore.
I kind of like that. I kind of like the like a thing of perks having some mystery to them as to which one they're running exactly. I think it adds more variety, and you kind of have to start guessing.
Yeah, I also do kind of. I've separated like Decisive Strike. The power of Decisive Strike is that it exists. It's not that you're brought it necessarily.
Yeah.
It's once again, it's just like what I said with Weave Attunement. I feel like it's a necessary evil for it to be good.
Definitely.
But I mean, like maps are like something we talked about it earlier, and with the game speed and stuff. Like, I feel like most of the maps are actually okay, and a lot of us overblow how bad they are. But there are some that are just abysmal.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like Garden of Joy, like I think even Nurse kind of struggles on that map, if I'm honest.
I mean, I'm pretty sure, isn't that the map that Alf lost his win streak on?
I think so. It might have been the more I think about it.
I'm pretty sure he lost his win streak on Garden.
Of course he did.
So.
Palette. It's the game, but worse somehow.
Oh no, it was Suffo too. That's right, it was Suffo too.
Oh, what, it was Suffo?
He had a really close game on Garden. I think that's what it was.
It was Suffo? That's surprising.
Yeah, it was. It was because the gates were on opposite sides of the map. I remember.
Oh, was he doing a 4K streak, or was it?
Yeah, it wasn't it 4K, 3K hatch streak. I mean, like, there were other reasons he lost that game, but like endgame was unwinnable because the gates were split on Suffo, because you can't really do anything with that wall being in existence. I'm pretty sure that was like part of it.
That's why I might get hate for this, but whenever I don't do them often, but when I do win streaks, it's just 3Ks. In game is so RNG reliant. I don't think it really shows anything, if I'm honest.
I don't know. I like hatch rule.
My problem.
I'm a hatch rule enjoyer.
Well, my problem with hatch rule is what if you don't? What if you just pretend you didn't hear it?
What do you mean?
Like, what if you walk by hatch and don't close it?
When they get out through hatch?
Yeah, isn't that the hatch?
No.
Rule?
Hatch is if last survivor escapes through hatch.
That's what I'm saying. So what if you just pretend you didn't hear hatch and they escape through hatch? Just to make sure you keep your streak.
Well, the other thing is if you close hatch, you win.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense. Okay.
Yeah, no. If you close hatch and then they escape through a gate, that's a different. That was kind of.
Yeah. The way some people have described the hatch rule to me was like if they escape through hatch, it doesn't count as a loss.
Yeah, as soon as you close hatch with one survivor left, with no gens, like if they have a generator left, and you close hatch, you win. If there are no gens left, so all gens are finished, then you close hatch, and they get out through gate, that's a loss. But if there are any gens remaining and you close hatch, you win.
Okay.
That's how hatch roll works.
Okay.
So, I'm very okay with that. I like that being the way that it is and being specific.
I don't, maybe.
But a lot of people go for 3Ks.
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where I feel like we're just moving the goalposts too much sometimes. And I get why it's done. It's just, I don't know. It's just, it feels like there's kind of ways if you wanted to play that system to make it always in your favor. Not necessarily in the sense of like winning the match, but like in the sense of like I said, if you just walk by hatch. But then again, the way you described it, I guess you can't really do that.
Yeah, because the point is, if there's no gens left and you hear hatch and you don't close and they go through hatch, you lose. Like,
yeah. What do they get out with key?
I don't think key matters either. Or actually, does it?
Yeah. What if you close hatch and they get out through a key?
Yeah, I think you just get rolled. GG lost anyways. Unlucky.
But like, and they didn't even bring a key in. What if they just got one from a
Alright, that's just DVD, man. Unlucky.
I don't know.
I mean, that's the whole that's one of those RNG elements in the game that's just like, well, RNG.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
It's like losing to a 4%.
If all gens are done.
Yeah, if all gens are done, you must 4K, no exceptions. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, yeah. So yeah, so
fair enough. I mean, is that? Well, once again, the thing with these rules is they're, as with a lot of things, it depends on who you ask. But for the most part, I feel like the 3K or y'all's rules, the two accepted ones, most accepted ones. I don't know anyone out here being like, oh, if you get eight hooks, that counts for your win streak.
Yeah, people don't go off hooks at all. I don't think that'd be kind of insane.
You know, something about the hook thing that's always weird or always been strange to me is no one ever mentions hook states. They always say hooks. And I never know
what do you mean?
So, like, let's say you hook somebody and they're left on the hook. And they hit stage 2. Does that count as another hook?
Yeah. When they say hooks, they just mean hook stages.
See, you say that, but some people legitimately don't.
Well, those people are just confused. That's all I have to say about that.
Like some people legitimately mean when you 12 hook, you 12 hook.
Yeah, I mean, like, because you can go for that. When people are talking about like 12 hooking in that sense, what they're talking about is not camping. They're just explicitly talking about not camping, and that's the words they're using to describe it by 12 hooking. But like, if a survivor just doesn't get unhooked and you're across the map, they just didn't get unhooked. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
I don't know. It's one of those things.
Like, that's not on me at that point. Like, I don't
know. When I was doing my my 50 matches, I wasn't going for a win streak. I ended up with a 21 though somehow. I was doing 50 matches of Chucky with no perks, no add-ons, and I also put in the rules like no camping or tunneling. I got so much shit because people were like, well, actually, at this timestamp here, you were camping. Clearly, you were right next to the hook. It's like, guys, like, what? I can't, like, I don't know. I don't know. That's the other thing with camping and tunneling that bothers me is none of us can fucking decide what it actually means.
One of my favorite things that happens with Huntress a lot is you get called a camper when you're literally entirely across the map from the hook.
Why? Because you threw a hatchet and hit the person off hook or something?
Yep.
That's not camping.
Because they decided to heal under the hook, and so I threw a hatchet and I hit them, and they're like, wow, how dare you tunnel me? And I'm like, A, I didn't even hook you for another 3 hook states. I hooked 3 other people. B, you're playing as a Huntress. Why are you healing under a hook? I'm across the map. Like, my bad. Okay.
It's also like when people get mad at you for going back to a hook. It's like, I don't see
people
anybody.
Complain about it so much with me. That is my most common end game chat message, is that I go back to hook. And I'm like, what do you want me to do when there's 3 people with distortion? I don't see anyone on barbecue. I don't see anyone on gearhead, and I don't see anyone on darkness revealed. Where am I supposed to go? What do you want me to do? Because I'm not just going to walk in the corner and give up. So what do you want me to do?
Like, it wouldn't make me so mad, but people will even say it when, like, they do it, like, right next to you. It's like, of course I'm going to go back to the hook. Like, why wouldn't I?
Yeah, so people who complain about going back to hook like that, I dislike you. Like, if somebody leaves chase to go back to hook, that's cringe. That's different. I'll say it, it's cringe. Even on a win streak, when I do it, I still think it's cringe, but I'm gonna do it because I want to win.
Or even like when the unhooker hides and I end up tunneling the person, it's like, what do you want me to do, man?
Also, there's times where like I'll accidentally chase the same person twice in a row, so I'll just slug them and not like hook them because I'm like, I just downed you. So I leave you on the ground and then I completely leave and never come back, and then they'll complain about slugging, and I'm like, you just can't win.
Dude, if you do,
you just can't win.
You don't. That's just how it always is.
You just can't win.
Do you get a lot of hate for playing Huntress, by the way? I know you were talking about.
Oh, so much.
Okay.
So much.
Just for playing Huntress?
I get Twitch whispers. I get Discord DMs. I get Steam replies. I get insane amounts of just crazy messages of people telling me to do wild things because I played Huntress.
I just switched to Steam. I was on Windows Store for a while. I have not gotten any messages yet. But my YouTube comments, my Twitch whispers, I get daily at least 2 or 3 people telling me to kill myself.
Yeah, it's insane.
Just because I play Chucky. For no other reason.
Yeah, like you don't even do anything in the game. I've had a lot of games where I lose hard. Like I get no kills and they'll still come into my DMs and tell me that I'm awful and that I should stop playing this game. And I'm like, what did I do? You won. I like what did you want me to do? Like I don't
like sore winners I can understand. Right? Or not sore winners, sorry. Sore losers I can understand, right? I get it. It's frustrating, whatever. Sore winners have never made any sense to me. What are you so accomplishing? Weird to me. Like it's so weird. This community.
Numi, that's because you play Billy.
Well, no, Billy's starting to get hate too. At least
he's starting to, but it's the thing about Huntress hate is that it's been building for 8 years.
That's fair. And
it's now normal to hate Huntress with a burning passion.
Listen, I hate Huntress, but not that much.
Dude, I've gotten some heinous DMs. Holy.
I don't just move the fuck on. Like it's not that hard.
I just think they're really funny now. They don't bother me at all. I just think they're really comedic.
I don't understand the logic of where it comes from. Like I do understand it. It's built up frustration from having no control, but still, like it's still stupid.
Yeah, I mean it's just people who don't know how to play against a killer that are like, I don't like this killer.
The thing is, like, when the people like who do get upset but like are cool with it and like do understand, they just don't like it, which is how I think I am with Huntress. It's like I'm fine with that, you know.
Yeah,
I feel like it's understandable. It's like, oh, you just don't like it. Okay, fair enough. But like sending DMs and telling people to off themselves, it's just like
it's crazy. Something that I used to do a lot, which I don't do anymore, purely for the fact of like it's so petty. I'm a very petty person, by the way. I do very petty things over DBD because I think it's funny. But like something that I would do in the past is people would tell me. So this was the one thing. There was a really big stigma around crosshairs like for a very long time. And recently it's kind of died down, but you know, you still get it here and there. But like it used to be really common where they'd be like, you're using a crosshair and cheating, loser. It makes Huntress so easy. And whenever people would do that, I would tell them to 1v1 me with them on Huntress with a crosshair. Because I know how to play against Huntress. And I'd be like, look, if you genuinely believe this, boot up Huntress, put on a crosshair, and 1v1 me. And I would have people who'd actually do it, and I would run them for 4 minutes because they didn't know how to play Huntress, and the crosshair doesn't help that much.
I mean, if they want, I can just,
and they would shut up.
If
they would stop.
I could just Sharpie a crosshair if that makes them feel better.
Yeah, like, it was genuinely like, that would happen from time to time. Not frequently at all, but it would happen occasionally. And it was really funny to watch them just shut down because they were getting rolled with a crosshair.
I mean, one of the viewer questions is about crosshairs. I can bring it up later, but we can talk about it right now if you want.
Yeah, we'll bring it up. I have a lot of hot takes on crosshairs.
So basically the question was, how do you feel about crosshairs?
I love them. Use them. Okay, here's my hot take on crosshairs. You can use a crosshair if you want to. You don't have to use a crosshair if you don't want to. If you insult other people for using a crosshair when you don't, you have an ego and you're lame. You want to feel better about your Huntress gameplay by not using a crosshair. I don't like if it's more satisfying for you, don't use a crosshair. It's why I don't use glowing concoction. I find predictions without it really satisfying. But if I'm to be like, yeah, if you use glowing concoction, I think you're actually like a worse Huntress player. That's stupid. Like, shut up. So if you complain about people using a crosshair because you don't use one, you're just trying to boost your ego. That's my take.
It's such and the devs have even said it's fine.
Like, yeah, it's not cheating. The developers have said the only reason that they didn't put in a crosshair was because they didn't want to ruin the immersion. They've said that. Like, they don't care if you use a crosshair, and they can't prevent you from using a crosshair.
No.
My monitor, I use my monitor crosshair.
Yeah.
I could lie and say that I don't use a crosshair, and nobody would ever be able to tell because it doesn't show up on screen recordings. It doesn't show up if I, whatever. Like,
I mean, I even just said it. If
you can't disable it.
Yeah, like I just said earlier, it's like if I really, really wanted to, I could just Sharpie a crosshair in the middle of my screen.
Just put a piece of tape on your screen.
Yeah.
Like, there you go. There you go. You have a crosshair. So, yeah, I think, honestly, also, that's one of my tips for, like, beginner huntresses is use a crosshair.
Mm-hmm.
Like, genuinely. It just makes you more consistent. It doesn't make her easy. It makes her, I don't think it makes her easier. I think it makes her more consistent. Because you still have to aim.
Yeah.
You still have to move your mouse where the survivor is. The game doesn't aim for you suddenly because you have a crosshair.
Yeah.
It just makes you more consistent because you have a point of reference of where you're aiming.
Like, I suck ass at Valorant. The crosshair doesn't help me aim better. I mean, it helps me aim better, but, like, I don't land my shots better.
It doesn't aim for you.
Yeah. It's such a strange argument, and I don't understand how we're still having it to this day. Like, I really don't.
That's definitely been one that I've also never really totally understood.
It's I mean, we don't have to talk about it fully if you don't want to, but I mean, it's the same topic with filters. It's like
filters are fine. It's talked about on Twitter so much. Again,
I think we got in an argument about the filters once.
Maybe. My thing of filters is like they are specifically allowed by the devs.
Mm-hmm.
Reshade is a whitelist only program. You cannot use Reshade on many games because the devs don't allow it. It has to be whitelisted through EAC. So the devs consciously made the decision to allow Reshade. They can remove it whenever they want.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with NVIDIA filters. And if you're going to say that this patch, they removed NVIDIA filters, it wasn't them. Yeah. It was easy anti-cheat. The developer said it on Reddit. You can find the message. They didn't remove it. Easy anti-cheat did, and they're trying to see if they can fix it. They do not care if you use filters.
And
my monitor has built-in filters that they cannot disable because, again, it is in my monitor. It is not any part of my PC. I can plug a console into my monitor and use those filters. It does not change how they work.
And as a friend of the channel, the Mr. Headache has said, most modern TVs also have filters.
I have friends who play on console still who have filters on their televisions.
It's
like it's unavoidable and doesn't give you that much of an advantage. And this is the other thing that I recently said on Twitter that I think I worded really well, which is people complain that you have to download extra software or you have to have certain requirements to have filters. And this is what I'm gonna say. People on Switch are stuck on 30 frames per second. Under the same logic, every single platform that you play on should be locked at 30 frames per second because it technically gives people on better consoles and better PCs an unfair advantage to play on more frames per second. It gives people who use a mouse with a higher polling rate a better advantage. It gives people who use keyboards with lower input delay a better advantage. All of that costs money. Not just downloading a program. You have to spend money.
Headphones.
Better headphones. Like all these peripherals that give you more advantage than filters do.
Even something
I would rather play with no filters to keep 120 frames than I would to play on 60 without filters.
Is there...
Any day.
Yeah, I never really looked into this. Are there sound filters for Dead by Daylight?
Yeah, it's called equalizers.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
You can use an equalizer.
Okay, fair enough.
That's a thing that was really hot debate for a long time. But again, you just can't prevent it. And if somebody's willing to go through that much effort, So what?
To be fair,
why do you care that much?
It's like the same people who say technically Discord is cheating, and it's like it's not. Like I can't like if you tell me Discord is cheating in this game when you're playing on Survivor, I cannot take anything you say seriously.
Yeah, like it just blows my mind, and it's like I'm not going to deny that filters will give you an advantage, because that's another thing that people are like, you don't think they give any advantage, and it's like, yes, they obviously give an advantage, but to call it like an unfair advantage is just stupid.
I mean, you can turn on filters too, like we just said, if you really, really, really want to.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, my bad that I use glasses to see better. Like, am I supposed to just play with blurry vision permanently? Like, is that cheating now? Like, what do you want me to do?
It's the whole accessibility debate thing too, all over again. Like,
I know. It's crazy how some people hate the thought of everyone playing games.
I've used a slippery slope argument before. Not always, but like I feel like it's where a lot of people go with it. And I do think there is a line, but usually the line to me is when the game literally plays itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
But even then, there's like, it's still case by case, right? Like, if someone is missing a hand, like, I wouldn't mind if there was some kind of software that allowed them to play the game with one hand. You know what I mean?
Right.
That like maybe they don't have to press W all the time; they can just tap it.
Yeah, they like toggle.
Yeah, like things like that. I think are perfectly fine, and there's ways around. And I will say this on the accessibility front is, I do think a lot of it like gets pressured on behavior, but some of it is like there are peripherals that can help people with a lot of these situations. And while I would love behavior to add more accessibility features, what's the word I'm looking for? That's not. How do I word this correctly? I don't expect behavior to be able to appease every form of accessibility. I would love for them to. Not. I would love for them to, but there's no realistic situation where they can.
Yeah. But they're very simply just not trying hard enough to appease two.
And like
even some of the most common.
Yeah. And at the same time, like I said, there are peripherals that can help them, and I would love if behavior and other game companies in general would do this and kind of encourage those peripherals a little bit more, rather than, to be fair, it's usually not the devs, it's usually the community demonizing the use of certain peripherals.
Yeah.
I remember, I think it was Halo Infinite. There was a person who played the game with one hand or one arm, and they had to use like a special controller that the devs like bought and made for them. And people were very mad about it.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It might not have been Halo Infinite. Someone can correct me on that one, but it was a decently recent game where they did that. People were very mad. They're like, "What does this person get special treatment? Special treat? He's missing an arm."
Yeah.
Like. I don't know. People are nuts. And like Rev said in chat, just gatekeepy. It's just like they still have.
This community loves having an ego. It's like, very common.
Like the worst I've fallen into is the whole debate on flicks that controller players can't do, and I'm not even like against it. My suggestion has always been just make it so the controllers can do it too.
Yeah.
Mind blown. Like You can do the flicks on Billy, can't you? With controller? Am I incorrect? I know Numi's.
Yeah, I believe you can. I don't. Well, you can't do. As you have less ability to do some of the low pro flicks.
Mm-hmm. Wouldn't what's it called, the extended joysticks let you do it though, or is it locked?
Well, the point of like those flicks is it's purely based on how far you move your mouse.
Mm.
Like you can boost your DPI and flick however, like you can do a full 360 in 2 frames with like low pro flicks, which you just can't get that speed on controller no matter what you do. So that's the reason why those are not quite there. But you can still do low pro flicks, just not quite to the extent that you can on PC.
And Rev just mentioned the whole mouse and keyboard on console. That's been a debate for years, and I really wish we would just get over it and just add it.
Yeah, I wish Zims were allowed on DVD. I don't like them on first-person shooter games. I think they're cheating on first-person shooter games. But in DVD, just allow Zims. Like, what's the point?
It's one of those things. A lot of companies don't want to give the leeway to any game, because if they give it to one game, then they have to start giving it to others.
Yeah,
and while we can sit here and debate on whether or not mouse and keyboard on console is cheating if it's allowed, like it's not worth the headache from the game companies.
Yeah. If PC players can use mouse and keyboard, and you're allowed to queue into PC players, then I think you should also be allowed to use mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, I agree. I think I completely agree. But at the same time, it's like some people would be like, well, what's stopping them from turning... Like, would it only work with crossplay is on?
Yeah, people start bringing up that bit, and it's like, bro, you don't play crossplay off. Be for real. You've never touched that in your life.
I couldn't.
You've never played cross off. Like, don't even.
I played.
Like,
I used to play on Windows Store. I didn't switch to Steam till recently. And fun fact about Windows Store: there's so few players on it, you can't turn crossplay off.
They don't give you the option.
It doesn't allow you to.
That's really funny.
I have played this game for almost 4.5 years. When I was on Windows Store, I can recount all 3 people I've seen without a globe.
Gosh, that's so funny. One of my favorite things is playing on Steam and then seeing like 4 globes in my lobby, and then one of them speaks, and I'm like, huh?
Oh, it always blew people's minds. I'm like, how are you talking?
Because I know that it's Epic Games and Windows Store, but it's still just like really funny. Every time it happens, I'll type "the globe speaks."
Because
I just think it's funny.
I love playing Windows Store. I didn't have to deal with some of the headaches Steam does, and my biggest thing with Windows Store, everything is 10% off at all times. Which is
that's kind of nice.
It is. It's very nice. Also, if something goes wrong with Xbox, it doesn't go wrong with Windows Store. Don't ask me why. I don't know why.
That's confusing.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's why I was like the only person even asking about it when the anniversary event thing happened, where Xbox didn't get it for like 2 extra days or something.
Yeah.
Windows Store got it, and I was like, why? Because everyone was saying it was Xbox's fault, and I was like,
right.
Well, if it's working on Windows Store. What?
Well, that doesn't make sense.
Wait, like all cosmetics? Yeah, everything's 10% off on Windows. Well, okay, let me rephrase that. All Auric cells are 10% off on Windows Store. So essentially, everything is 10% off. Like if I wanted to buy a chapter, it was the same amount, but I never bought survivors. I would only buy killers. So I would just spend like $3 on the 500 Auric cells and just buy the killer.
That is pretty goated.
It's really... I think part of it was also because I had Game Pass. I think I also added the 10%. I'm not sure. That was the other thing. It was on Game Pass, so I got the game for free. It's the only reason I started playing.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was one of the other things, too, is you can get the game for free on Windows Store with Pass, so...
Well, quote, free.
Yeah, I mean... Playing DVD for free is a little... No DLC is a little rough, but...
Yeah, I just make the game free to play, please. Anyways,
At this point, yeah.
I don't know. I was talking to Mint about that. Mint Skull on Tuesday, I think, about that, where it's like, just make the game free to play. Like...
I mean, yeah, the only issue with that becomes the whole, like... AI bots destroying the game.
Yeah, but every free-to-play game deals with that.
Yeah, but you have to realize that like DVD's like horrid about cheaters.
Yeah, I don't know. That can't be the only reason, because the game goes on sale for like $5 sometimes. It's basically free.
Yeah, but the point is that they still have to go through the process of buying it.
I guess
they don't just click download, which is enough to deter some people. It doesn't deter everyone, because you can buy accounts for very cheap online through, third-party services where you can buy accounts for $2.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like,
but just that alone is enough for some people to not do it.
Even with like Game Pass, it's like you can get Game Pass for like $1.
Yeah.
Play the game for a month with cheats, and then just do it again. I don't know. It's the cheater situation is all. Have you encountered? I'm not a big enough streamer to get a bunch of cheaters in my lobbies, but do you get a lot of cheaters at all recently?
Not recently, but there was like a good period of time where I was getting a cheater like every couple of games.
I think I can count on my hand. I think I've gotten like 3. Two.
Me and Numi got a cheater in 2v8.
How why? That you know what? I don't even care about the how. Why?
Because it was free weekend.
Well, no. I mean, like, why would you cheat in 2v8?
Oh, because people just cheat wherever they want.
I
It's like messing with the game. A lot of the people that also cheat in games have never played the game before.
That's fair.
That's why cheaters are so bad.
I remember one time I got a cheater and they held me and their teammates hostage.
I don't think I've ever been held hostage.
Yeah, the cheat, I don't know exactly what they were using, but it was like they could just instantly pick their teammates up. So I couldn't even slug their teammates out of the game. And they would stop gens from being able to be done. So they were just holding me and the 3 other people just hostage the whole thing.
Yeah, those are not fun. Yeah, I think the longest I ever got held quote unquote hostage was literally like 10 minutes, and then they got bored because I just instantly AFK'd and started doing something else. And they just gave up really quickly. They were not strong-willed, but
yeah,
that's like the only time I ever got like held hostage. And it was the whole thing where like everyone else was out of the game already and it was in-game collapse and they were just like sitting in the sky.
Sitting in the sky.
Yeah, because like they can negate end-game collapse killing them, so they would do that and then they would just sit somewhere where you couldn't hit them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was the longest I ever really got held hostage.
I think if I ever got a cheater, like people underestimate how patient I play Chucky for Chuck spots. I am patient. I have waited 2 minutes at a corner before. Okay, I don't care if I lose this match.
Yeah, like I've played enough DVD to the point where I'm like, yeah, I'll just alt tab and watch a video. Like I don't care.
Oh, I don't even alt tab and watch a video. I will stare at the screen.
It couldn't be me. I'm not that petty. But I respect it. I'll watch a video or open a different game. Like open Geometry Dash and just play Geometry Dash. Like,
is it petty? Is it?
I mean, yeah, because you're trying to be the, you're trying to prove that you're
stronger.
You're more willing to waste time than they are.
I don't know. Like,
I mean, it's not really petty, but it's like you're trying to prove a point. I'm just like, I'll watch something. I don't know.
I don't know, because like I do Dead by Daylight fishing streams sometimes, and I pretty much do that anyways.
Yeah.
Where I'll play it's either Deathslinger or Xenomorph, and I'll like for Xenomorph I'll run Dragon's Grip, hit a gen, go back in the tunnel, and wait. And I just do that for hours.
Sometimes that's just that's fun.
With Deathslinger it's I'll bring a bunch of totems, Insidious, and then Eerie Coin. And I'll just wait by a totem. I don't care if I don't get a single person. I will just sit there and stare at the totem. I will do this for hours.
Yeah, that's fair.
I am an insane person. I'm aware.
It'd be like that.
I'm just. This isn't me trying to bolster my ego. I don't know if saying I'm really patient is an ego booster, but I'm really patient, and I'm too apathetic to care. So. Yeah, I think that happened to me the other day. It was on Midwich, because of course it was on Midwich. I was doing a Shark Known, which is it's when you go on the first floor of Midwich and only hit people through the floor.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And I was doing that, and 2 people gave up immediately. Which is really funny when that happens. 2 people gave up immediately, and the last 2 people had distortion. And they refused to do a gen. There was 1 gen left, and they refused to do it. And
I've definitely had games like that are
it's always
brutally unfun.
It's always Midwich. And
I get them on Gideon.
And it's like, you guys don't realize, like, I don't care. I will sit here for 3 fucking hours. Oh, I found the cheater. in the VOD.
Oh, did you find the speed hacker?
Yeah.
Did it just show up?
I saw the dart across the screen.
That's some good timing. I told you, we got one cheater in 2v8.
Oh my god. It just, at least be subtle, man. Like, what the fuck?
They tried to at the start. Like, the first time I chased them, I was like, are they cheating or are they just lagging? I don't know. And then that happened and I went, well, never mind.
Oh my god. Bringing this back to Huntress. I don't know why that's so fucking funny to me.
That's a good timing. Actually, I will, let me BRB for like 30 seconds.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'll be right back. One second.
Well, Rev, I think the other problem is a lot of people are, as far as like getting rid of cheating. I think a big thing is like the best anti-cheat software out there is stuff that people don't want in their computer. And I'm not saying people are wrong for that. I completely understand. But like, if you want to kill cheating, that's usually the best way to do it. Thank you for the stretch, by the way, Wes. My back is killing me. I had to lift an engine today. That was fun. Ow. Yum, what do you think? She has no words of wisdom. Kernel cheats are good. Kernel anti-cheats. Wait, are you saying you're I know this is a personal thing, but are you fine with kernel anti-cheat? Kernel level access? No, I've never seen a cheater in Valorant either. Not legitimately, anyway.
I'm back.
We were talking about kernel level access anti-cheat.
Valorant.
Yeah, and now we.
I'll be honest. I don't really have that much of a problem with it.
I think it's fine. Like I understand people's problems with it, but it's like there would be major legal ramifications.
Yeah, I mean the other things is there's a lot of like misunderstanding with how it actually accesses your PC at like kernel level access. Like it can't actually be like taken advantage of because of how it's made. Like people think it can.
Yeah, and even if it could, which I know it can't, but even if it could, once again, they would not risk that. That would be a legality nightmare.
Also, like the other thing is, even if somehow, some way, there was some way for them to access it, I'll give you a tip: unplug your Ethernet cable, and then uninstall it. Wow, you know what I mean? Like,
well, I mean, even with like weren't people getting IP addresses from Dead by Daylight?
Oh yeah, that's been a thing forever. I mean, there was an actual thing of people getting kernel level access through another game that doesn't even have a kernel level access anti-cheat. Yeah. So the anti-cheat shouldn't even be the thing you're worried about. So I understand why people are like kind of concerned about it and like breach of privacy things, whatever. Like it's kind of understand where they're coming from. But I personally don't have any issue with it. And if you really hate it that much, don't play the game. It's a game.
Like it's 2024. There's no such thing as privacy.
Yeah.
If we're honest with ourselves. I hate to say it, but I mean it's true. But onto the Huntress topic, the question I was going to ask, and you didn't really like go too in depth with it, but how strong would you say Huntress is in her current state?
Where would I rank Huntress?
Because I think the general community consensus, and once again, this could be just because of who I happen to talking to, is generally like high B, low A.
Yeah, I'm definitely leaning towards that ballpark as well. Of like high B tier. She definitely has map dependency problems. She has map pressure problems. Not as much as a lot of other killers though, because she is has unlimited range technically, but like getting survivors off of gens for a long period of time with that is not really something you're gonna do. I would probably put her in like high B.
Yeah, and you know, I think the map dependency is the big thing that a lot of people, when they're discussing killer strength and whatever, they often take out.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. Like the add-on one, which I still don't think people should not, or I still think people should consider add-ons, but I think that one, like, I can understand why people don't consider it, but the map dependency thing, I think it's a massive. It's the reason why, like, I know some people, there's like, I don't know if it's a debate really, but there's some people who are saying like Billy is better than Nurse right now, which I don't.
Yeah, they said that's because of like maps and stuff, which I don't agree with either. I think Nurse is still going to be the best killer. I believe that there are certain very specific situations where Billy's insta down gets you the down slightly faster because it's an insta down.
Mm-hmm.
But and he has, you know, good map traversal too. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that Nurse being able to avoid pallets, vaults, and walls is still better.
And floors. Don't forget about floors.
And floor, yeah, the floors is a big one.
Did you see my tweet the other day? Suggesting that maybe if Nurse should lose the verticality.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was just a random thought I had with somebody. I don't think it would fix anything.
I don't think so. I think it would make her less fun to play. That's for sure.
Would it though? Because it means on maps like Midwich, you can actually look down.
Yeah, but that removes counterplay.
Okay.
I think that's something that I like about it, is that you can use the second floor as counterplay. And removing that makes her slightly more miserable in some ways, but slightly less miserable in some ways because of the fact that they can no longer. I don't know. That's a hard one to say. I don't know.
I mean, because I brought on a Nurse main, and we barely talked about Nurse in that whole thing, but we were thinking of ways to nerf her, and like we couldn't think of anything that just fundamentally changes the character. Like, it's such a hard. I do not envy the devs on trying to fix her, quote unquote, fix her.
One that I thought could be interesting in some manner is becoming partially blind while you're blinking.
What, like how Chucky's camera zooms in when he's in hidey ho?
Yeah, something along the lines of like removing sight while blinking.
They could
removing the amount of information she gains.
They could. I've heard someone suggest she doesn't get auras while she's blinking. Which I don't.
I'd be fine with that. Honestly, I would be fine if they made it so that you can't see a survivor mid blink, even like spirit phase. I think that might be interesting. I don't know how much that would actually change things, but I feel like there's a lot of situations where Nurse can blink through things and then see a survivor, and that would kind of remove that. That might be. And then also that would actually give value to the add-on where when you blink through somebody, they scream.
Mm-hmm.
That would make that add-on a choice to run now instead of a joke.
The random add-on they added to 2v8 for some reason.
Yeah, I love how in 2v8 they gave how many was 9 add-ons?
Pretty much.
Like, nice one, guys. Make the best killer in the game 9 add-on space kits. That was a great idea.
Here's my thing with what they did with Nurse in 2v8. I think their idea was Nurse was supposed to be the solo Q killer.
Yeah.
I think that was their idea. She was supposed to be the killer,
Huntress, but
yeah, she was supposed to be the killer you pick when you're solo queuing and like you can't communicate with your teammate.
Yeah, I could definitely see that being part of it.
I mean, then again, Huntress also, but I mean, Huntress's popularity during 2v8 wasn't even necessarily. It's because of those killers, and I know fun is subjective, but of those killers, she was probably the most generally accepted to be fun.
Yeah.
And she also was probably the one who was like the most unique compared to all the other ones.
One of the things is easily the one of the big things is that because she's ranged, she could help your teammate anywhere on the map if you're good at her. That was really cool, and it removed a lot of the stress of playing Huntress typically, where you are having to worry about survivors seeing you in a lot of specific things because the match is so chaotic. That's just not something that people are thinking about as often. They hear a hatchet getting raised and they're like, well, what are the odds that they're aiming at me? That's a 1 out of 8. I'm fine.
The amount of times I would randomly get like fucking T-boned by a hatchet.
Yeah. And I must say, watching those clips from the other killer's perspective, oh, they are so funny.
I remember
the other killer being mid-chase and just suddenly a survivor getting clotheslined. So good. I loved it.
I was on Coldwood, and I remember a Wraith was chasing me, and I was looking at the Wraith, like looking back and forth. Out of nowhere, a hatchet just hits me. They weren't even aiming at me; they were aiming at some dude on the other side of the map.
They're so good. It's so funny.
But yeah, her Huntress's strength. We talked about it a little bit earlier. I do feel like the community does overblow her strength sometimes. Not even sometimes, a lot of the time.
Yeah, a lot of the time they do.
At least the general community. I feel like a lot of the I hate saying this because it makes me sound egotistical. The more higher end people tend to understand she's not as strong as some people let her out to be. I think she's annoying. I don't.
The reason that I believe that, and I agree with you, is that to be really good against a Huntress, you have to understand a lot of micro things about her.
Mm-hmm.
You have to learn tiles that she's good at. You have to learn tiles that she can and can't throw over. You have to learn places that she can and cannot throw through. If you want to be like the flawless, player against her. And I hit people who are extremely experienced with hatches that they've never seen before, and they get hit by them because they've never seen them before. But then as soon as they've seen it once, I will never hit them with it again, ever, because now they know. It's one of those things where I believe that Huntress is an extremely knowledge-based killer, both in learning her and playing against her, and that's one of the reasons that she's so hated, is because to really be extremely good against her, you have to learn a lot about her.
I just hate going against the ones, and typically the ones I go against are the ones who wait for animation cancels.
Yeah, I mean, like, I can understand why people complain about that, but it's like, that's most of the killers in the game.
Let me rephrase that. I'm not complaining about it. It's just annoying is all.
Yeah. But it's just like, I think that she gets overhated for that when you can do it with every ranged killer.
I mean, I do it on Deathslinger, so I can't even speak.
Yeah, so it's like, But I understand why people think it's annoying. It is annoying, and it is something that is not very fun about her. But if you, again, with the knowledge of learning tiles where she can't do that and kind of abusing those tiles, that's where you start dwindling her into a killer that sometimes really can't do much.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned survivors dodging and such. So this is going to bring on the podcast question, as it's known now. Did they dodge or did you miss?
That's a great question.
It's a great question, isn't it?
And I'll answer in the most literal way possible. It depends.
It's the typical answer, yes.
It depends. I do believe that there are a lot of instances where you missed. They didn't dodge. You missed. But I also believe that there are a lot of instances where, like, when you're predicting someone's movement,
mm-hmm.
I would count that as missing in the same way as them saying that they dodged, because it's both of you guessing.
Well, that's basically the point of that question is, where is the line? Where is the distinction between a dodge and a miss?
I think the distinction comes down to what type of movement you're playing against.
Mm-hmm.
If you're playing against a survivor who isn't looking behind them and is running in a straight line and then randomly changes direction, it's hard to say that they dodged.
Mm-hmm.
Because are they even paying attention at that point?
I mean, it's one of those things. It's like, what if they don't even move? They just run in the straight line you were expecting them to dodge, and they don't. Is that a miss?
And it's like, did they dodge? Like, sometimes, yeah, they did by not moving, because they knew that you were going to aim left or right.
That's why it's always interesting. That specific scenario is where the question came from in the first place.
Yeah, I would say that there are a lot of instances where when a survivor runs in a straight line, they dodged. That does happen.
But I think the funny thing with it though, and I've learned this after talking this or asking this question to so many people. I think the real distinction is intention.
It's 100%. It's fully intention.
Because if someone's just running in a straight line because they don't know what they're doing and you miss the hatchet, you miss. They didn't dodge. But if they're running in a straight line because they expect you to anticipate the dodge, then you missed. Or yeah. I'm sorry, they dodged.
They dodged. Yeah, 100%. I think it's purely based on intention of both players.
Which is a crappy thing because it means we can never get an answer to the question.
It's pretty hard to come up with an answer for it.
Some people have given some good good answers and like given very good reasoning. It's just I still find it a question that's, and the reason I usually bring it up is because Huntress is the one I use as an example a lot. What do we balance around? Are we balancing around the survivor's ability to dodge or your likelihood of missing?
Right.
Because
I definitely think in that sense it is based around survivor's ability to dodge. Well, I would argue that how do I explain that?
Well, so
that's like the wording of it.
So like okay, the scenario I'm like, let's say like Huntress's average hit rate is 70%. Well, let's just say right. I actually don't know what it is, but let's say it's 70%. That 30% that don't hit, as a dev, you would have to look at that and understand, is it because people are able to dodge with those 30% or because people are missing those 30%? And then it obviously it wouldn't be the full. You'd have to figure out which percentage of which is which. And then you have to balance for that. And I don't know the devs, but I don't think they're going to that much in detail, but I feel like they probably should. But then the question once again becomes where is the distinction that lies to get that exact result data?
Right.
That's why I think, because like when we're talking like balancing or balance discussions or strength levels of Huntress, what percentage are we assuming they're hitting their hatchets? Because that's another thing. Because
I don't know.
It's like in theory, and this is no offense with what I'm about to say. In theory, if someone is good enough, they should be hitting 100% of their shots, right?
See, you say that, but that's not true.
In theory.
No, because in theory, that's still not true because it's a projectile. It's not hit scan.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, that's true.
If it's hit scan, that is true. In the sense of it being a hit scan, like Valorant, for example, if you are 100% accurate with all of your mouse movements, you should never miss a shot because it's hit scan.
Well, random recoil, but yeah.
But I'm talking about like first bullet accuracy.
Yeah, first bullet, yeah.
You should never miss a shot. Mm-hmm. Every single one of your shots, your first bullet, every single time should be on their head if their head is visible.
Mm-hmm.
Even through walls sometimes, if you're 100% accurate. Now, that changes when a projectile gets added.
Mm-hmm.
Because at a lot of ranges, even if you threw it perfectly, like with an aimbot, there's still that little bit of travel time where they can move. And because there's travel time, you're not guaranteed a hit.
Right.
So to say that you're 100% accurate, like theoretically that's possible is just not true. It's not possible to be 100% accurate.
Ow. Sorry.
You cannot hit 100% of your shots unless you're only going for point blank shots.
Mm-hmm. So what percentage?
It's just not possible.
So what would you say the percentage should be or would be in theory?
Well, it completely depends on what range you're going for. It depends on the range, and it depends...
I never really even thought about the range, because technically Huntress is global, isn't she?
Yeah, because Huntress can hit from corner to corner of the map if she wanted to. Mm-hmm. And if somebody's perfect, could aim that. But you cannot, no matter what, 100% predict a survivor's movement, because that's just not possible. And even if you are predicting their movement, if they're looking at your hatchet from far enough away, they can react to the hatchet. It's not just predicting anymore, it's now them countering.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's a very like hard question to answer of like what a theoretical percentage would be. But if you were to say point blank hatchets, like, yes, you could technically be 100% consistent.
And once again, I think this is because I'm genuinely curious. That I would love to see the dev data on Huntress. I would love to see it because even with the buffs they just gave her, like I'm genuinely curious if. I mean, I assume the data they have is the reason they gave the buffs.
Yeah, that's my guess as well.
Because I mean, she is the most popular killer, so statistically speaking, that means a lot of people who aren't good with her are still playing her. But
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they basically saw an extremely high pick rate and I'm like pretty far below win rate compared to a lot of other killers for the sake of people find her very fun. But if you're not super good with her, she was brutally awful to play.
It's a. I feel like the thing with this discussion is that there's a lot of variables that get added into it, and some you just can't even account for, and some that can't be predicted, and some that can't. I don't mean the hatchets being predicted, but like the variable itself.
Like, yeah, the game has a lot of RNG just overall.
It's like, I mean, you can in theory throw a cross hit map hatchet, but like you're not doing that on Larry's.
Yeah.
So if we only got stats from Larry's, it's like, well, Huntress is actually pretty okay because she can only go for point blank hatchets basically.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just I just think it's a brain scratcher sometimes to bring up the question of the dodge and miss. I don't ever expect to get like a 100% confident answer from anybody with it.
Yeah, I think it's 100% based on intention.
Moving on a little bit from the power level and that question. This does bring us into tips. So tips for new Huntress players. Now, Huntress is a character who's been around for a very long time with a lot of people who've made guides on Huntress. But do you think you have anything to add?
Yeah, honestly, I think a lot of the guides are outdated. Which actually, fun fact, there's a community guide currently being made and worked on by a bunch of Huntress players to be as updated as possible. And another Huntress player is also making their own guide, kind of in unison with ours, like and adjacent. So they're part of the community one, but also they're making their own. For the sake of including their own opinions. I've also thought about making one because I've been asked a lot too. And honestly, I think it'd be a fun project to work on. But I think a lot of them are outdated. So there's a lot of things that have changed. And I think with that, one of them is the amount of people who want to play Huntress for fun versus who want to win. I think the number of people who play her for fun has increased a lot because of the increase of things that you're able to do with her over time, if that makes sense. Like orbitals becoming possible because they changed the look angle. That has introduced a significant portion of players who only play to go for them because they think they're really interesting and they don't care about winning at all. So I think when you look at things like that, it is genuinely a big tip is like play what you think is fun on her. If you see people going for insane stuff and you can't hit them, we also couldn't hit them at the start. It took a long time for a lot of us to be able to do them. Be very patient with her. She takes a very long time to learn, especially if you don't play like first-person shooter games outside of DBD. Like one of the reasons that I got good at her somewhat fast was because I was a Widowmaker player in Overwatch. I would only play snipers in COD. I was very much a precision sniper player in every game I could play, even in Halo. Like I played a lot of FPS games and I was a precision player in those games. I tried to work on my aim as much as I could because I like the aiming element. So that's part of why I was like drawn into her.
So it's funny you bring that up because a lot of people will say, because when I play Valorant, my aim is ass, except for on 2 weapon types. sniper rifles and LMGs.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been told the reason for that is because I wrist aim.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't use my arm. Which I have tried and I can't. I've tried for years. I just can't. I'm sure.
You have to do like really specific things to be like constantly reminding yourself to use your arm.
Mm-hmm.
Other thing is like sensitivities. People typically play on way too high of a sensitivity.
Oh yeah, for sure. It makes micro adjustments very, very difficult.
Yeah.
But with the aspect of the FPS, would you say she's more flick or tracking?
Tracking.
Tracking? Okay.
I don't think you need to flick on her ever. I honestly don't. If you watch most of my gameplay, I rarely flick. At all. Pretty much the closest I'll get to flicking is if somebody makes some unexpected movement at close range.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, you can just wait slightly longer to throw. Like, that's just me being, impatient.
Right.
So yeah, I don't think she's a flick character at all. I think she's fully tracking.
Okay. I figured as much. I was just kind of curious about your thoughts on it. And then the big one, tips for playing against Huntress.
So I touched on it earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Genuinely learning the hitbox, which I'll tell you right now, you can figure it out. So a couple things about her hitbox that people don't know still. One, her hitbox for hitting a survivor and her hitbox for hitting collision of objects are two different hitboxes. They're completely separate from each other. They have vague correlation to each other in the sense that they are attached to the hatchet. That's it. They're completely different from each other. So that's why a hatchet can round a corner and look like it hits you from a foot away, is because the hitboxes are different. So that's one thing. The hatchet hitbox for hitting collision is extremely accurate to the model. The hitbox for hitting a survivor is like a beach ball around the hatchet. It has a nice foot diameter as literally a sphere around the hatchet. It's basically throwing a beach ball at you. The other part of that, your survivor hitbox, is a pill shape. It is not the shape of your survivor, and it is not placed where you think it is. It is taller than your survivor. It is wider than your survivor. And when you're running, if you're running while injured, just running forward, your head is not in your hitbox. Mm-hmm. That's how far behind you your hitbox is. So that's another thing to think about. These are like elements of like giving you a visual idea representation of what your hitbox looks like so that you know when a Huntress is really looking for. Mm-hmm. The other tip, learn the tiles that Huntress is good at. One of those ways is by watching Huntress players who know how to play her. If you watch their streams or watch videos of just them playing, not them explaining anything, you can see which tiles are very strong, which tiles are weak, which ones you can throw over, and which ones you can't do anything at. Because there are tiles where Huntress wins every time. You just can't do anything. And then consciously trying to avoid those tiles. Another one, playing her as every killer in the game. If you play the killer, you start learning what survivors do against you that work and don't work. Mm-hmm. But some people don't want to touch her, so if you don't want to, watch gameplay of her.
I can't understand why no one would want to play Huntress, at least. I mean, she's free, isn't she?
She is free, but people just think killer is extremely boring. Some people think that 110 feels awful. Uh-huh. Some people think that ranged killers feel awful. Some people think they can't aim at all, so they don't want to even try. Mm-hmm. There's reasons, but yeah, if you don't want to play her, watch gameplay from her, and you'll learn things that Huntresses are able to do.
If you could pick a loop that you would say she's very bad at, offhand, is there a generic loop you can think of that she just can't play that well?
Honestly, to an extent, pallet gyms.
Okay.
If you're playing check spots correctly,
mm-hmm.
It can be really hard to get a hit on her with her against people who know what they're doing and know how to distance themselves. Mm-hmm. You just have to be hyper vigilant of corners. That's like the main thing. But if you can be, yeah, pallet tiles, pallet gems, and sometimes L and T walls even can be kind of brutal.
It is just so funny listening to this because I'm like, yeah, that kind of Chucky, that kind of Chucky. I made a a statement a few weeks ago where I was like, everything people complain about with Chucky, they can complain about with the Huntress, but no one does.
Yeah, they're very adjacent in a lot of ways.
Oh, you can't dodge the slicing dice. Well, you can't dodge a hatchet if the person's good enough, so...
Yeah. Distance is important against Huntress. That's a thing that I think people underestimate.
Yeah, and what does she go to when she's pulling up a hatchet right now? Do you know?
Oh, what does she go to?
It's been adjusted like 3 times. I do not blame you for not knowing.
I don't know the actual number right now.
It's not 90 anymore. Is it just 100 flat? It might be 100 flat.
I think it's like 98 or something stupid.
She's slower?
I feel like it's a really weird value. I feel like she is slightly slower than the Survivor, but I think so. I think she's slightly slower than I don't remember.
I mean, that would make sense, I suppose.
Because I'm trying to think of... Because you can't chase someone down. But, like, you don't lose distance necessarily. I don't remember. I really don't. Either way, it's really close to Survivor speed.
Yeah. My main point is, like if she's holding up a hatchet and you're close, like, just try to get as much distance as you can.
Pretty much.
Hide behind stuff, use line of sight, like the basic stuff, man. Like,
it really is. She is a very like overall simplistic killer to play against. It's just if you want to get really good against her, it's just a lot of learning tiles.
I don't. It's a lot of the basic stuff. I reiterate so much against my killer in particular, and it's like, man, this works on like all killers, but no one does it anyways. It's like check spots. Check spots are such a simple concept. And people don't do them. People don't do them. If they did, I wouldn't get half the clips I do.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so dumb. Or another thing. Here's another weird one. When you're looping a Huntress at a tile, would you say it's better to go wide versus going not the Huntress herself, the Survivor player?
Mm-hmm.
Would you say it's better to go wide on the loop?
Like if I'm holding?
Yeah.
50-50.
50-50?
I think what I do when I'm playing against a Huntress is the very first time I'll run wide and then see what they do. Because if they throw straight, the next time I'm hugging.
Mm-hmm.
If they throw wide, that means that they expected me to be a good player. And now I don't know what to do because now it becomes a guessing game of who's going to throw wide or who's going to go wide, who's not. Because basically, if you run wide the first time and they just throw straight, and then you hug the second time and they continue to throw straight, they're probably just going to keep throwing straight. I'm just going to break it. They're probably just going to keep doing it. And, you know, over the course of the match, they might catch on, and you just have to switch it up. That's part of like to be really good against Huntress, you have to be unpredictable.
Yeah, she's a very vetty killer.
Yeah.
It's like at the beginning of the match, no one has any idea, and then because she's not unless you're playing her badly, she's not predictable.
Not at all.
Because there's a lot of variables on how the hatchet can come out, where, the direction, how fast, even the distance. Like, there's a lot of variables you have to account for. Like, I mean, one match you might go up against a Huntress who's only going for long shots. For whatever reason.
Right.
The next match you're only going against ones who only zone. The next match you're going against one who always anticipates the dodge no matter what, even if they've seen you run in a straight line the entire match. She's like, this happens with a lot of the killers, but I feel like Huntress definitely is more vetty than the other ones.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
And she's a lot more like it's funny because people bring up this idea of counterplay a lot, and maybe I'm disillusioned, but I don't even know what that word means anymore. I legitimately don't. Is dodging a hatchet counterplay?
I would say yeah. I would say that counts as counterplay.
Is that counterplay though?
Yeah, because you're actively making a decision to do something that you might not otherwise do against a different killer.
Okay. Maybe just I don't know. Maybe the internet and DBD Twitter's, like I said, disillusioned is the closest word, but warped my perception of what counterplay actually means.
Yeah. The other thing that I would say about that is the fact that if something has layers to how effective it is, I believe that's also a telling of whether it's counterplay or not.
Mm-hmm.
Because anyone can move randomly.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not making distance by doing it and you're zoning yourself, that's not good. Like you're dodging, but you're killing yourself in the process. So
yeah, it's almost like I
would say that it happens a lot. So I would say that there's levels to dodging, and some of those levels would anticipate like counterplay being added to it.
I think the biggest thing that I've noticed that when the counterplay discussion gets brought up for a lot of the killers with dodgeable abilities, and I'm gonna make some enemies saying what I'm about to say. Huntress, Deathslinger, Chucky, that last one's the one that's gonna get me some hate, etc., is that it's the fact that it's not consistent, I think is people's issue with it. But it's like there's no way to make that consistent.
Yeah, there's just no way to make I
like if you could,
I don't think there's any such thing as a 100% consistent counterplay option for anything.
Well, once again, I mean, it depends.
I think,
like, because I mean, technically, you could argue Singularity and Xenomorph, because even
like what?
Because the items that counter their powers, like they're not consistent. Like you don't always have the item, but the item does consistently counter the power if you use it correctly.
Well, that's true, but that's like forcibly put in.
Yeah.
That's a different. I feel like that falls under a different.
Yeah, but like with
category.
With like the dodging stuff, it's like I legitimately like if you could consistently dodge a Huntress Hatchet every single time, no matter what, if you're good enough, like Huntress would feel fucking miserable to play.
Yeah, absolutely.
And same with every other range killer, like for the most part. Just like with Deathslinger, it's like if you could consistently dodge, which I mean, depending on who you ask, you can. Because I mean, it's the same problem a little bit with Billy with with crouching, and same with Demogorgon. Is it still there? I don't know. I haven't heard anyone complain about it.
Yeah, crouch stacking is still a thing.
Okay, yeah. And it's like, I mean, we know how that feels when it consistently happens. Like it's just miserable. You feel like you got cheated.
Yeah.
That's a little bit different, but like I feel like it's the same basic concept. It's like when people talk about like counterplay for like dodgeable things, that like I feel like they want it to be so telegraphed and such a slow projectile that if you're paying 100% attention, you can always dodge it.
Yeah. I guess the other point that I'll make to that too about like dodging being counterplay is something that you can do that sometimes is the correct choice to make is to purposely get hit by a hatchet so you can make distance to a better tile. That is something that you can do that is sometimes the most beneficial option. And that inherently then creates the fact that sometimes getting hit is the play. So yes, dodging can be counterplay because sometimes getting hit is counterplay.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. I know that. It's just one of those things I never really think about.
I think most people don't think about it. I don't think most people have thought about that in that way, and I think it's something that is kind of overlooked by a lot of characters.
Because I mean, in theory, like if you're running to a loop and you're not going to make it, just get hit by the hatchet, make it to the loop, and then she can't double tap you.
Well, and the other thing too is if you can't make it to the one loop that you're running to, purposely get hit and run to a better loop.
Mm-hmm.
That's an option. It's the same way that people will forcibly try to get hit by like Bubba M1 in a window rather than getting chainsawed to be insta-downed to make another tile.
Yeah.
And because now you're M1'd instead of insta-downed, you have another chance, quote unquote.
I feel like people do it a lot with Nemesis zombies.
That one happens too.
And I feel like that one's more well known and done, I feel.
Yeah, that one's definitely up there for more common. It's also slightly more common because he like with the zombies it creates the whole like it's 3 hits instead of 2.
Yeah.
So you feel safer taking that gamble,
I suppose. Yeah.
So that's another reason that I say that dodging is counterplay is of sometimes the best play is not to dodge.
To be clear with this, I'm not saying it's not. I think it is.
Yeah.
It's just my issue.
I know a lot of people say that it's not.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I feel like, yeah, like you said, some people say it's not. It's like I genuinely sometimes don't know what some words in this community mean. Because like some people have extremely different definitions of them.
Yeah.
The biggest thing with like the counterplay one I said was the reliability seems to be the big factor for some people. Whether or not you can consistently, reliably do it. Which, yeah, the thing is,
which I
I
think looking at DVD as a specific has a really weird thing in the community with that because of how the game works. But if you look at other games like Valorant, for example,
mm-hmm.
one of the ways that you can technically gain an advantage in certain gunfights is how you swing a corner. You don't swing the corner the same way every time.
Mm-hmm.
There's several different ways that you can swing a corner
unless you're me
that give you varying levels of advantage or varying levels of just basically randomness to your opponent of
mm-hmm.
how are you going to swing it. And I'm not talking abilities. I'm talking just straight
gunfight.
You can
like down C on Haven. Yeah.
Well, it's like when you reach a corner, it's like there's jiggle peeking, there's wide swinging, there's crouch swinging, there's shoulder peeking. Like there's a bunch of different ways that you can peek a corner,
mm-hmm.
and they all do different things, and they're all used in different ways. But most of them, the same objective is to have an advantage in the gunfight.
Mm-hmm.
So I would classify all those as different types of counterplay to how your opponent is playing, in the sense of you can use these peaks against different guns even to gain an advantage, but it's not always going to work.
Right.
Because you can jump peek an op, but if they think you're going to jump peek, then they'll play in a specific way where they will kill you anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So when you start taking like other games and looking at elements like that, I feel like you can start applying the same things to DBD.
I feel like Dead by Daylight gets treated as like this special game that can't be compared to other games sometimes. Not even sometimes, a lot of the times.
A lot of the time, yeah. People really do that. And that's another thing that's always kind of bothered me. Like, yes, DBD in itself is kind of a unique game in that the core gameplay, like, what makes you good as a survivor, for example,
mm-hmm.
is almost purely movement. It is a movement game.
Mm-hmm.
How optimized your movement is and the decisions you make with your movement. That is the entire game of Survivor. Now, with Killer, you can technically argue that it's slightly more than that with map pressure and obviously different Killer abilities, like Huntress has aim elements. But if you take Killer at its core concept, it is also a movement optimization game.
It's a time management game.
But it's all, yeah, it's time and movement. Like,
mm-hmm.
it has very different skillful, quote unquote, elements than other games do. While some other games may incorporate movement into it, they are not movement-based games. This is a movement-based game.
I think one thing Dead by Daylight doesn't really have, and someone would argue this, I'm sure, a lot of like first-person shooters, for example, one of the biggest skill floors is positioning. And I feel like Dead by Daylight has that to a degree, but it's not so much your positioning, it's more so your
It's movement. A very different type of positioning, yeah.
Yeah, it's your positioning relative to where you're going to move. In a lot of other FPSs, your positioning is determined on where the opponent is, not where you're going. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I'm sure someone will correct me on that, but regardless, like it's like I said, it's just I feel like people like treat this game as like some random unicorn that needs to be treated different than every other game, which to some extent it does. I do agree, but like a lot of things,
but not everything about it is different.
Yeah, it's even like I don't want to get too into it, but it's like the MMR system. Don't get me wrong, it's flawed. I will 100% agree it's flawed, but like every other PvP game has MMR.
Yeah,
and there's a reason for it. As much as we all hate it, it's there for a reason. And Dead by Daylight, like I don't understand why Dead by Daylight is any different.
Right.
It's like I don't know. It's just like with the whole party game versus competitive game debate that I think is really dumb. It doesn't get us anywhere. Or like the whole balance debate on like whether one side should be stronger than the other. It's just like earlier when we were talking about maps and map dependency and things, and it's like that's the same thing in a lot of other games. Like in Rainbow Six Siege, there are some maps where some characters just don't work.
Yeah.
And like it's fine in those games. Like people still like kind of like wag their finger at it a bit, but like no one's like outcrying about it. It's just how it is. Same with like the whole like I've seen some people bring up the suggestion of like map banning and things like this, and it's like once again like Dead by Daylight isn't like I do I want map banning in the game? No, but like I can see them adding it.
Right. I'm still under the impression that map offerings should do the opposite of what they do right now.
I'm under the impression map offerings should just be deleted and turn into something completely different. I don't know. Maybe,
I believe that playing a map offering should prevent that map from being played. I like that.
I like that too, but at the same time, it's like how many maps are in the game? 20?
More than that.
Is it more than 20?
I think so.
I was trying to get like commissions for like every map, and someone told me 20.
Well, you're talking like realms.
How many offerings are there? Is it 20? Because technically speaking, Toba and Nostromo are the same realm, but they're different offerings. Don't feel bad for not knowing that if you didn't. I didn't know that till like 2 weeks ago.
I believe there's 22 map offerings.
22. So if 5 showed up, that's cutting off. Not saying 5 would every match, but if 5 different map offerings showed up every single match, that's a fourth of the maps just gone.
Technically, yes.
Actually, it would be more, wouldn't it, depending on the realm?
Well, now here's the thing that I counter that. One person plays one offering, and now 22 maps are out of the play.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
That's stupid.
Well, no, I think they're both stupid, but personally, but I don't know. I don't know. I also like when I played Siege. I've talked about this before. Have you played Siege before?
Yeah.
When they added the map banning system, it was that's when I quit. Because it was so dumb. It's so dumb.
See, I'm a person who likes the map banning system.
I liked it at first. I liked it for about 3 weeks until it was the same maps over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, I just don't really have a problem with that in games like that where everyone collectively agrees that certain maps are awful.
I don't... Well, no, that wasn't even my biggest issue with it. New maps would come out and people would ban those.
Well, that's in like competitive play.
Well, no, people would do it in unranked too.
Well, yeah, unranked, but the thing with Siege though is that you could always just play quick play.
You could,
and that's not a thing.
I didn't like quick play.
DBD has one mode. You don't have a second mode to like mess with stuff.
I didn't like quick play because I thought it was too. I liked the prep phase and I liked the idea of being able to ban operators at the very least. And it was like the middle ground between ranked and quick play as far as like how serious people would take it. Because like in quick play, I would give callouts and people would tell me to shut the fuck up, and unranked, no one ever did.
Yeah, which is like fair to an extent, but it's like
I don't know. I just got tired of Coastline. That's all in Clubhouse. Every single map. And I liked Outback. I was a weirdo who liked that map.
I also like Outback. Outback's fun.
But like, yeah, like DBD isn't the special snowflake on those kinds of things. Even with like game balance, it's like a character shouldn't have like a 70% win rate. I don't care who they are. And I don't care how good.
Yeah.
And the argument of skill can also be brought into that. It's like, I've made this question before. Like, should a character's difficulty to use determine how good they are?
I think it plays into it.
But should it?
Yeah.
So Nurse is cool being the best killer in the game?
Well, see, because people use the argument that Nurse is hard, but she's not.
She's not. She's hard to start, but once you get the hang of it, she's not that hard.
But I do believe that I think Huntress is honestly a really good example of it. Of hatchets, when you're not good with them, are more detrimental than they are good. And then once you get good with them, they become strong. You get rewarded for learning a mechanic and becoming skilled at it. I believe that that's fine. And I believe that there are killers that should be low barrier of entry, that should be very simple to play. And I believe that those killers should stay in the mid-range because they are easy to play, because it's an accessibility thing. They can be used as, some type of like learning tool for a lot of players, a step up for other killers. But at the same time, there's quirks about them that you can use to make them still good. I think is what this game lacks.
I think a good example, Tat's gonna kill me. Actually, no, he won't. He knows. Legion. Legion, I think, is a good example. Like Legion, don't get me wrong, there is skill expression with Legion, as much as people don't want to admit it. But for the most part, it's run with knife, stab people, and then M1 killer once everyone's injured.
Yeah, the skill expression is not high.
There's more skill expression to it. I hate that people say there's none. The biggest part of it is information you gather and knowing what to do with it. And the decision making going on, like, do I stop the frenzy here? Can I make it across the map to that other person? Do I pretend to walk away? Do I go back? And then the argument can be made, well, that's not a Legion specific thing, and the blah blah. Anyways, my point is, they're not generally seen as very high skill expression. Does that mean they should be bad though?
And I believe, like, with their killer design, again, I believe that they should be like a pretty stable mid-tier killer. I don't believe any killer should be bad. Like, Freddy is abysmal, which sucks. Like, I don't think he should stay abysmal. But I believe that if a killer is very easy to master their mechanical elements, like Freddy, which is place trap, mid-chase, teleport gen, pretty simple things, that he should not be a very good killer.
Well, then there's like, what about like a killer like Trapper, whose inherent design, he'll never be good.
Once again, I wish that he could be better.
Maybe it's a hot take. There's nothing they can do to Trapper to make him good without fundamentally changing him.
Yeah, I mean, not really.
His entire design is around the survivor.
His entire kit is just bad.
Well, his entire power relies on the survivor doing something wrong.
Not even necessarily wrong, but it relies on the survivor pathing.
Yeah,
that's the thing about it that makes it really rough.
Unless he forces it, and then you could argue, well, he doesn't really have ways to force it.
Right.
So that's where that comes in. But that's like a question there is like, should that inherent design mean that he's bad? Because if somehow they made Trapper S tier, I think it would be, and I'm not saying it, S tier is probably a little too high, but like, even if they made Trapper like really good, like, I think he would be miserable to play against.
Yeah, he definitely would be.
You know how I know that? They did it. Her name was Skull Merchant.
True to an extent.
That's the Trapper rework we need. Please don't do that again.
Skull Merchant again.
Skull Merchant again.
Skull Merchant, but with traps as well.
She is a trap killer, pretty much.
No, but I mean like bear traps.
Oh, like with bear traps too. That there's a bear trap under the drone.
Yeah, give her both.
She puts the drone up and like a trap drops, so they can't even disarm it anymore.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, trap your drones. So what are you gonna do now, huh?
Oh, if she gets out of the 2v8, oh my god. Oh my god.
Nightmare.
Oh dear god. I mean, it's yeah. It's just I feel like it's an interesting debate on like where a killer's strength should lie with how hard or easy they should be. I think like I bring him up a lot, obviously because I play him a lot, but I think Chucky is one of the big proprietors of that because I've even as someone like who says he has more skill expression than people give him credit for, even I can admit he's easy to play. Right, he's easy to get inherent value out the gate. There's little things like camera movement and sliding off of certain things and a couple of attacks and knowing when to scamper and when not to, things like that. But it's like he's very easy out of the box, and it's like, should he be as strong as he is because of that, or should he be weaker?
Right.
And then how do we adjust for that? Which I still say the cooldown should go back to 12 seconds, but that's just me. And, you know, like you mentioned earlier with Huntress, it's like, should the buffs Huntress got, I mean, they do make her better. They don't, like, make her, you know, S tier or anything, but she definitely got buffed. And it's like, with how difficult she can be for some people, or just in general, I would say, is it justified because of that?
Right. And in a way, I would say yes, but again, it comes with like fine line balancing of like the one of the big problems is like it's hard to make examples like that because the killers in this game just aren't balanced.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say somebody who like a character like Billy that is closer to being balanced,
mm-hmm.
Is a good example of gaining skill in his power and mechanically gives you the tools to be an extremely strong killer. I believe that is valid. I just believe that he oversteps it a bit.
Yeah, I'll probably would. Spoiler: Numi is the next guest. We're probably gonna get into that a little bit because I have some words for Billy.
Yeah.
Nothing too harsh. It's my opinion on Billy right now is I think he's a tiny bit overtuned.
He absolutely is. That's not a debate even. Yeah. He's overtuned. The fact that he's the second best killer in the game right now is insane.
Also, I brought this up before. Billy, if you didn't know, is the only insta down killer in the game with no cooldown.
Yeah, he doesn't have a cooldown anymore. The other thing is like he gets rewarded for using his power, mm-hmm. which I think more killers should do. That's something that I really like that they added, is that you are now rewarded for using your power.
Yeah,
I believe that should happen more frequently.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say rewarded, I mean like not just rewarded with hits or downs. Like he physically gets a buff to his power the more you use it.
Yeah.
And I think that's cool. I think that's good. I think that should be done more. I think that's what makes a fun killer even more fun. But again, with Overcharge right now, I believe that it oversteps balance.
I think something they tried, and I really wish they would bring the fuck back, BFFs on Legion. Not the biggest deal in the world, not the strongest add-on in the world. And it is an add-on, so you could argue it technically doesn't balance the killer out. But it is an add-on that rewards Legion for using their power even when they shouldn't.
Yeah, I agree.
I really kind of... And we did just get a token add-on with Dracula.
We did get a token add-on.
Yeah, I made a big deal about it because I was like, oh, so you guys could have done this for the past 3 years and you just haven't. Okay. I feel like more killers should do that. It's like I've talked about with Pyramid Head. If you hit a long range or a max distance Pyramid Head shot, you actually get punished for it.
Yeah.
Because they get more distance now. My suggestion has been remember that thing they did in PTB where if you hit someone with your into, it tormented them?
Oh, right. Yeah.
My suggestion has been go back to the drawing board on that and make it so the last meter of the into does it.
Right.
That way you're...
Yeah, see, things like that I think would be interesting.
Yeah, like, and not even necessarily just like rewarding you for using your power, but rewarding you for using it in it depends on who you ask, but more skillful ways. Like Huntress, for example, like I don't know what they could do, but like what if you got like some kind of buff if you hit someone from like 24 meters away and got the sharpshooter thing?
And putting that into an add-on, I think, is fine too. I think that adds a variety in layers. I think another good example of that, what you're talking about, is Slinger. And the fact that he has an add-on where if you hit the max range shot, he gets buffed. But typically, if you're hitting the max range shot, you actually get nerfed because a lot of the time you can't get the hit.
Yeah.
So it's like you are getting punished for using the full utility possibility of the killer. And I think that's really stupid.
Unless the situation completely calls for it. It's like I criticized because someone was telling me about talking about like killer mastery, like who's the hardest killer to master, and someone brought up Deathslinger, and I was like, I don't really think Deathslinger is that hard to quote master because like a lot of those like because they were bringing up like hole shots, and I was like, okay, so you hit someone through shack wall, through the hole in the window, and they're already injured. Now what?
Yeah, you don't get anything more.
Yeah, it's like yes, it takes a little bit to master that, but like, what do you get for mastering it?
I honestly like to bring up Huntress in that debate of the hardest to master. And the reason that I make that debate is nobody has mastered her yet.
Even at skill ceiling.
It's been 8 years, and we haven't hit the skill ceiling.
Yeah,
We're still doing things that haven't been done before. After 8 years. That's crazy. And people think that her skill ceiling isn't high, and I'm like...
Her skill floor, maybe, but like her skill ceiling is... Even then, I
believe she had... I argue she has the highest skill ceiling in the game.
I could see a debate, but I get where you're coming from with it.
It's the fact of over time you can become more. There's like an unlimited possibility almost for survivor predicting and like reading survivors in combination with aim, in combination with range,
in combination
all three
with
of those
RNG
factors.
The
like it just keeps going of like the amount of things that you can progressively get better at more and more and more over time. It's impossible to perfect all of them because it's just not possible, but you can continuously get better, and we're seeing it happen.
And that's another thing with the that kind of comes back around to the whole like if a killer is hard enough, should they be good? And it's like if someone is good enough with the killer, like shouldn't they be rewarded in that sense?
Yeah.
But it's like where's the cap? If someone is good enough at this game, should they be able to win 100% of their matches? I'm not saying it'll happen, but I'm saying should.
Yeah. It's like to an extent, no.
I have a strange feeling if Numi is listening. We're probably going to bring this up again.
I'm pretty sure he's also going to say no.
No, I think that's the funny thing. Most people who do get those high win streaks do admit they shouldn't be able to.
Yeah. No, I don't believe so. I believe that if you're good at the game, good enough at the game, you should always have the advantage. You should always have a higher chance of winning. But to say that you should be able to win 100% of your games, I think is really not true at all. I don't think that's a good gameplay. And to be fair, it's almost where the game is at currently, which I think is a problem.
It's one of those. It's a problem that I can't think any other game really has.
Yeah, and I think the reason for that is because it's an asymmetrical game.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably part of it. Probably most of it.
I can't think of any other game. I just can't think of any other game that has close to a competitive loop as DVD has that is asymmetrical. Because even in a game like an FPS game, for example, every FPS game is team-based.
Well, I mean, even back in the day, do you remember Evolve at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, even back in the day, Evolve had like an esports scene. And even back then, like the win rates were, even at like the top level for that game, the the win rates were pretty even on both sides.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't there wasn't like a team of hunters or like a monster player who was able to consistently win nearly as much as I see in Dead by Daylight. No matter how good they were. It's not to say no one like went on any insane streaks, but it was like 10 matches in a row. Maybe 20.
Mm-hmm.
Like
it was like crazy.
Not like 1,000. Once again, no offense to anyone who does reach that. I'm not, but you know, it's just insane to really think about. Like logistically speaking, think about. Also,
and that's fair.
And it's also very strange for this game too, considering all the RNG elements.
Yeah. I guess part of that is it goes to show you that like the amount of RNG in the game doesn't actually change the gameplay that much.
No, but it tricks your brain.
It does. I mean, so one thing that I will always give to Dead by Daylight, and is the only reason that it is still played by people for many, many years in a row, is the map RNG and the way that the map RNG is made and laid out, and how basically the map RNG per map, and I mean like if you play Thompson House 60 times in a row, you're going to get a different Thompson House every single time. You will never play the same Thompson House twice in a row. It's mathematically impossible because of how many seeds there are in the game that can be generated. Will there be similar ones? Yes. Will there be ones that play almost identical? Yes. But will you play on the same one? No. So with that being said, those 60 matches will still feel extremely similar, but different enough where it's still engaging.
Is it weird? I hate it for my killer, but my favorite map in the game is RPD.
That is psychotic.
For the exact opposite reason you just said.
Of that it doesn't have that much RNG.
I love how consistent it is. I love that.
See, that's why I hate it.
I love that I can learn the map.
I don't like that. See, that's another thing that I really like skill-wise in this game is learning how tiles work and how tile spawns generally are and being able to adapt to the differences. That's something that I really enjoy about this game, and it's the main reason that I've played it for so long.
But don't get me wrong, I don't think every map should be like that. I appreciate that there's at least you could argue technically Hawkins as well to a degree.
I'm fine that there is a map that is like that, especially because it is 2 out of like 50 map variants, actually closer to 60. So is it 60? 15. It's close to 60 map variants.
I don't know. All I know is Badham takes up 5 of them for some fucking reason.
Well, it's Badham takes a 5, Autohaven takes a 5, Coldwin takes a 5, and then now Mac takes up 10.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So that's already 40.
People love Mac, at least.
Or almost 40. It's like about 35. So, anyways, there's a lot of maps.
But I don't know. I appreciate the consistency of RPD as much as I hate. It's funny because I hate, once again, the killer I play sucks on that map and I hate that map. But when I'm playing any other killer, I don't mind it.
Which is fair.
Yeah. I just like the consistency. Yeah. It's just, there's something about learning a map that's just enjoyable to me.
Yeah, I can see that. I like the aspect of them being completely different every time. They obviously follow trends. Like main buildings will be in the same spot, shacks will be in the same spot. So you have like anchor points. It's not completely random, but I like the randomness significantly.
I think it's a give and take. I think we need a little bit of both. But at the same time, like map offerings also kind of kill that too, because I don't care how much you like a map, getting it 6 times in a row, even if it is different, is not fun.
I disagree. I will play Rotten Fields 37 times in a row and will not be upset. I disagree.
Okay, fine.
I say that, but like if it was like Larry's 37 times in a row, I'd uninstall the game. So.
I'm about to do I'm working on the Chucky guide, and one of the things I said in there was I'm going to do a video on every single map. And I'm going to play on every single map 15 times in a row.
you're gonna have a great time
to see how it goes. I'm gonna have a great time on a couple maps. Probably.
I mean, like, I'll tell you right now, for certain Huntress clips that I've gone for, like, for example, I brought myself to Midwich for 9 hours straight.
Really?
I brought myself to RPD for 7 hours straight. I brought myself to Gideon for 15 hours. I brought myself to Larry's for 9 for another clip that I haven't hit yet. I've dealt with playing the same map over and over and over for several hours.
Mm-hmm.
So I know how you will feel.
Listen, I was trying to figure out the number too, because I was like, this isn't supposed to be like an in-depth guide for the maps. I just want to get a feel for them to see and get my like predisposition biases away. And I was like, 15 seems like a good amount.
Yeah, I'll tell you 15 is pretty good.
Yeah.
15 is pretty, it's where you start learning things about maps too that you might have not totally realized playing them here and there. Instead, when you're playing them over and over, you're like, oh, this is a thing you can do. Like playing RPD for 9 hours straight, or like 6 hours straight, I now am pretty decent at RPD on Huntress, and it actually doesn't bother me that much anymore, because I used to hate the map, but I really don't mind it that much now.
Someone told me to do 50, and I was like, I have a life, guys.
Yeah, that's like, I don't think people understand that that's, hang on, how many? That's over 1,000 games.
Yes.
I didn't play 1,000 games in a, like, several month period.
I couldn't like I have a job, man. Like I can't. I can't.
50 is ridiculous. 15 seems pretty decent, because you're gonna play quite a few matches, but a realistic amount of matches.
Yeah, and once again, I'm not
play
going
like 300.
I'm not going in to like get an in-depth guide of every single tile that can spawn on the map. I'm literally doing it just to get a feel for the map, but I want it to be a consistent feel.
Yep, I think 15 is good.
Yeah. I'm also doing no perks, no add-ons, so pray for me.
Gosh, you'll have a wonderful time on Larry's.
Well, I'm doing no
It'll
perks.
be so fun.
Well, I was trying to think of a consistently good build to run that wasn't like super overpowered or like super underpowered. And I was like, well, if I do no perks, no add-ons, like it's probably the most consistent I can get.
See, that's where I would run, like, perk-wise. I'd throw in like an agitation.
Yeah, but wouldn't that mean that some maps with like bad hooks I wouldn't be able to fully determine?
Not necessarily. I think that used to be the case. I don't think there's any maps now with like quote unquote bad hooks.
Is Midwich fixed?
It should be. I haven't noticed anything with it.
Well, I meant as far as the hook placement goes.
Yeah, like my hook placements have been fine.
Oh, okay.
There was a point where it was awful, but it's been fine recently.
I don't know. I was gonna run.
Maybe I'm just getting lucky.
I was gonna run lethal barbecue, and then I wasn't sure about the other two perks, but that was the original plan. But I don't know. I feel like no perks, no add-ons would be the most consistent, because it's literally, it doesn't affect my gameplay in any way, shape, or form. I get just like a base feel of the map.
Yeah, you could definitely do that. That's definitely fine. But I wouldn't be upset at you if you throw in like an agitation or something, you know.
Yeah, we'll see. Are you a big lore head of the game?
I wouldn't call myself one, but like I know a decent amount of it, but I'm not like deeply enthralled in it.
So you dabble.
Yeah.
Do you have any?
I know most of the general lore.
Do you have any thoughts on Huntress's lore?
I feel bad for her, man. She didn't deserve this. It's not her fault.
Isn't it though?
Not really.
I mean, it depends on your definition of blame, I suppose.
She got abandoned. Like, what do you?
Yeah, but she still chose to kill people and kidnap them
because she didn't teach more. She didn't get taught morals. Morals are a learned thing in that sense, because she kidnapped them in good faith.
Yeah,
it is explicitly stated that she did it because she was trying to help.
Okay,
but she doesn't know how, because she was not taught how, because she was not raised by humans. That's not her being morally incorrect. That is her simply just
being ignorant,
not knowing.
Being ignorant.
She has the schooling of a 6-year-old. Like, I feel like there's a very large portion of her where her moralities were correct.
Mm-hmm.
But she very much just was ignorant about how things worked, and that's why she did the thing she did.
Do you know?
I feel very bad for her, actually.
Do you know anything about did the tome add much more? Because I don't even know, if I'm honest with you. Do you know?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't really look at it. No.
Well, no, I'm genuinely curious if like the tome like kind of made her more sympathetic than her like base lore did.
Yeah, I don't know. That'd be interesting to look at.
I honestly don't know because I know like Trapper like that kind of happened.
Yeah.
Like Trapper was kind of like a fucking menace, and then his tome came out, and it was like, oh, he's actually sympathetic. Okay, to a degree.
He's got some good stuff in there a little bit,
yeah,
but
yeah, to a degree, he's still a psychopath. But no, yeah, I was just genuinely curious. I always ask that one because I find it interesting, especially for certain characters. This might be really random. The more I think about it, any thoughts on Hooked on You?
Good game.
Good game.
Not for Huntress though.
Oh man, I didn't
even play the Huntress route, but good game. Good game.
I did the Spirit route.
I went for Trapper.
I was going for Wraith, and then he was a vegan, and then I was like, okay, I'm not doing this now.
That's where you cut the line?
That's where I cut the line.
Not mass murderer, but vegan.
Vegan, yeah. No hate to vegans. Stop for me.
That's crazy.
Stop for me. Listen. I cannot date a vegan and know that I will eat a hamburger in front of them. Okay, I can't do it.
I'm fine with them murdering hundreds of people. But not eating meat, can't do it. Can't do it.
Yeah, I know we all joke about that game. I really do hope they make a sequel.
Yeah, me too.
It was so fun. And I got to do my stupid female voice for like 4 hours and throw my vocal cords out.
That's always really fun.
Yeah, when I do this shit because it fucking hurts, I can't even do it anymore.
He's cooked.
Ugh, I'm old. I'm just old. Skins is the next one. Huntress has a lot of skins.
Yes, she does.
Like an abysmal amount of skins.
She's been out for 8 years. What do you expect?
Yeah, that is a fair point. I was about to say, and no one complains about it. That's why, because she's been out for 8 years. Kayla. But do you have a favorite?
So are you talking about like set or like what I run?
Set or like what you run in general.
Okay, so I'm a boarhead enjoyer, which is controversial.
Why is that?
Most people hate boarhead. Most people think it's ugly. Most people hate it. Most people hate boarhead. Literally, if you mention boarhead in a group of like Huntress players, 99% of them will call you stupid for thinking you like it.
For thinking you like
I like boarhead. I run boarhead. I've consistently ran it since I got it many years ago. I like it. I don't know why people hate it so much. Nobody's ever given me a good answer other than they just don't like it. Which, like, personal taste, whatever. I don't think it's that bad. I like it, so I run boarhead. There's my, like, cosmetic hot take for whatever reason. People hate boarhead. I like boarhead. Boarhead good. With that being said, the set that it's in, not great. I don't like the body or the weapon. I like mixing and matching. With that also being said, I really like Were-Elk. I think the Were-Elk skin is really cool.
Oh, I think it's great apart from the controversy it started, but other than that...
It is kind of pay to win.
Is it still as bad? It's not as bad as it was, right?
It's not as bad, but it's still kind of pay to win. I'll be honest. It's
that's
whatever you want to
listen. The pay to win. I mean, technically speaking, Tiffany's pay to win.
Yeah, it's like if you want to get real in depth, there's a couple of skins that are technically pay to win. Because then you also run into the fact of like his model's also like bigger, so like easier to see. It also has brighter colors than some of the other skins. So it's like trade-offs, whatever. But I like that skin. I also really like the one set that I do also really like that's not like a linked set is the ram head set. I think that's a really cool set.
Oh, yeah,
I like that cosmetic. I like the ram head and I like the body that it comes with. I think it's a really cool thematic one. I also really like the World War skin. I think that one's really cool.
Is that the burnt one or is that the other one I'm thinking of?
No. She literally wears like a
World
War General uniform.
Oh, okay.
Because her lore takes place during. Is it World War II?
I think it's World War. It's the 40s, so I think it's World War II.
I think it's World War II.
I just said I think World War II was in the 40s. It's in the 40s. Yes, it's World War II.
Yes. I believe. Her lore is also I believe her lore is in the 40s, so it is World War II.
It's either if it's in the 40s, it's World War II. If it's in like the early, I almost said.
If it's in the 10s, it's World War One.
Yeah, I almost said aughts.
Aughts. So yeah. Anyways, so I like that skin a lot. I think that skin's really cool. Also, the fact that it has like that lore element too is also kind of cool.
I like the tome one she got, the giant head one. I don't know what it's called.
It's so gross.
I love it. I don't know why.
It's so gross.
I think that's when I started playing the game. That might be why I love it so much.
Maybe. I actually also don't really like her hooked on U-Skin in game. Because the dress doesn't have physics.
It doesn't?
It has some, but not to the extent that it should.
Damn,
it's very rigid and bouncy, and it's really weird.
Damn, I feel like Spirit won with that, because hers has physics.
Yeah, if you pull up like Huntress and like spin her around in that cosmetic, it looks really weird. She has very strange physics on it.
Moving on from loving, we'll do Dead by Daylight's favorite thing. Which skins do you hate?
Most of them.
If any.
I'll be honest. I'll just keep it stacked. I don't like most of Huntress's skins.
She gets a lot. So
genuinely.
That's fair, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't like most of them. I only like the Were-Elk as a linked set. I mean, okay, the Mordeo one is like cool, but it's from another thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's not DBD made. So I don't really count that. But not a huge fan of the Blighted. Not a huge fan, again, of like the rest of the Boarhead set. I don't like the body for it.
How upset would you be if she gets a Bonnie skin?
Oh, I wouldn't care. I think that'd be kind of cool.
I don't think it'll happen. She has a rabbit match, so it's like it kind of makes sense.
Yeah. I think it'd be kind of cool. Well, I'm excited for FNAF.
Oh, so am I.
I'm a FNAF enjoyer.
Yeah. I explained the lore to somebody for 5 hours on stream once. So
see, yeah, I'm not that deep into it, but I like FNAF. That's it's cool. It's cool. I don't know all the lore though. I couldn't tell you, but it's cool. I like it.
Yeah, I feel like her skins are very hit or miss.
Yeah, they're very like stylistically varying, which I think is good. I think that's what most characters should have. I think
on killers that should happen, and I'm gonna probably get some hate for saying this, but I think Survivor should stick to aesthetics per Survivor.
I think that's fair. I think it's a really fair thing because especially Survivor is way more cosmetic, whereas Killer isn't. Killer is quite the opposite. Every single killer plays differently. So I agree with that notion.
Okay, because I feel like I'm gonna summon the Legion of Michaela lovers, but I feel like because Michaela has so many skins, to me personally, the problem isn't that she has so many skins. It's more so that she has fit so many different aesthetics with her skins. Why would you play another character when you can just play Michaela and fit the aesthetic you want?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that some characters just get way too many options that should have been given to other characters.
Mm-hmm.
And some of that even comes down to lore-wise. There are lore picks that don't make sense.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, the most recent one being Hattie not getting a vampire hunter skin.
When she literally killed the fucking vampire.
When she is a literal vampire hunter in lore. I don't care about whether you think Hattie's a good character or not. That just doesn't make sense.
Or how, was it Claudette who didn't get like a druid skin?
Yeah.
Even though she's a
botanist.
Like the modern day druid. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff like that I don't enjoy necessarily with a lot of characters.
Yeah,
and I don't think that's necessarily as fair with like the community drawn skins.
Mm-hmm.
But some people really like to point those out, and I'm like, that's a different thing.
I don't know. It's just like I've had people tell me like, well, no, like every survivor should like be able to fit any aesthetic if they can make it work. It's like, well, I agree to an extent. It feels like you're kind of shafting yourself creatively because it's like I feel like Jeff should get like all the hard rock skins or like anything that's like, or not hard rock. I just pissed off so many people. It should get like the metal-esque skins, the skins that kind of fit like the bearded skins. They should all go to Jeff. I don't want a Felix skin where he just magically has a beard. You know?
Yeah, which is fair. But like, I'm also okay with like Vittorio getting a hoodie.
Yeah, that one's yeah.
I'm okay with that. The other thing that I see with that is like the fact of the idea, the notion of like survivors giving each other things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To an extent, like him getting a hoodie from somebody
when this
would happen.
When this comes out, Frank Stone will be out. But I really hope, because they haven't really said much, but I really hope we get some lore of what happens in between the trials.
I think we will.
Because it is one of the things that we have like nothing on. And I am genuinely curious. Do the killers talk to each other? Like, has that ever been confirmed? Right. Do the survivors talk to each other? Do they just hang out sometimes? Like,
I mean, if you count Hooked on You as lore, then yes, but do we count that as lore? I don't know.
Like, I'm genuinely curious. Is Chucky just called the Xenomorph a dickhead all day? Like, I want to know.
It would be really funny. I wonder if anyone's ever gotten Myers to say something in the eternity that they've been there.
Like, don't get me wrong. It absolutely means and affects nothing. It's just like, you've made this lore. I want to know.
I wish to know.
I don't even care if the answer sucks. I just want to know. If the answer is no, they go into like a comatose state, so be it. Cool, I know now. I can end the fucking discussion.
Right.
I've been petty about this for like 3 years.
Understandable.
Like, I don't know. It's does Singularity have like a personality?
Right.
Like honestly, like does he like chill out with Myers and like have a beer? I don't know. Do they eat? I would like. I have questions. So we talked a little bit about it earlier with maps. What a segue. We talked a little bit earlier about maps. And I think I know the answers to both of these. But are there any particular maps you absolutely hate and absolutely love?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can very quickly gather my two answers to that question. So I'll be honest with you and say that the map that I hate playing the most by far, just not even like any redeeming qualities, is probably Hawkins.
Oh, really? That's not what I thought you were going to say.
Most people would probably think that I'm going to say Larry's.
That's what I thought, yeah.
But the reality is that Larry's has a lot of tiles that you can play around as Huntress. And there's a lot of cool shots that you can hit through doorways and windows that I think are really interesting and can be really fun. Mm-hmm. Even throwing down the really long hallways, you can get some really cool hatchets. There's some really fun, redeeming stuff about that map. You don't get that on Hawkins. You just don't. You get the hallways, but they're smaller. They have more stuff in them. They're harder to hit people. You have doorways, but they're smaller. They're harder to hit through. You don't have windows really at all. You have really boring tiles everywhere. I don't like that map.
I thought you were describing Gideon's on Hawkins.
No, Gideon is more open. Gideon has some fun stuff. Gideon has some really fun needle shots.
Well, also, like, Gideon's doesn't have as much shit in the way. Even on like, some
that's
of the
what I mean. It's more open.
Yeah, because even like some of the a lot of the COD palettes, like Hunters can play most of them. The more I think about it.
Yeah, pretty much. The only one that sucks is the one outside of the bathroom downstairs. That one's awful.
You talking about the L shape, the
double pallet.
Oh, Oh yeah, my killer.
You can't do anything on Huntress there. You can't do nothing.
My killer destroys that loop.
yeah. Huntress sucks on that. So, yeah. And then favorite map. Honestly,
if you had to pick one,
that one's like a little different. It used to be like hard, solid, definitely Rotten Fields, but they've changed it a bit. It's still really fun, but like in terms of like interest, because there aren't needle shots on it, it's probably not actually my favorite because I really like needle shots. I really like the variety of shots you can get. So in terms of that, what would I lean more? I'd probably lean to an Auto Haven.
Okay.
For the sake of a lot of the filler tiles in Auto Haven have needle shots that are really fun. And some of the fillers on Coldwind suck. Some of the hay bale tiles are not fun because you can't throw over them and you can't really do anything, and they're god tiles for Huntress, so they're not fun. I don't like them.
I love how completely opposite. I remember how earlier I said our killers are like very similar in some ways. Maps are not.
Yeah, this is the way that they are not.
I fucking hate Auto Haven.
So I'd honestly probably say like, not even Wrecker's Yard. What would I trying to think of, like maybe even Wretched Shop. Because you get a lot of variety.
Yeah, for basically the same reasons though.
Yeah. You get more needle shots with the main building. The main building can be really fun to play around. It also has an open roof, which means you get fun orbitals on it. It's still a pretty open map for the most part, but you also get higher chances of getting like a bus spawn and stuff where you have fun shots on that. And again, the fillers and stuff all have needle shots that are fun. So I'd probably say my favorite map might be Wretched.
Okay. And normally I ask people, do you think your killer is map dependent? But I don't think I need to ask that.
Yeah.
I think most people know she's map dependent.
I will say the other map that's up there for debate with my favorite, but like, is Dead Dog. Dead Dog is really fun on her.
Let me ask you a question about Dead Dog, because I feel like this one's kind of debated. Do you think Dead Dog is killer sided?
I don't know.
I honestly don't either.
It's definitely killer sided when you're playing Huntress.
But I mean, it feels like maybe I'm the weird one here. You know, most people say like Macmillan or maps like that are like the quote most balanced maps. I actually think Dead Dog is the most balanced map in the game.
So it is in the sense of which side will win, but it's not in the sense of some killers absolutely dominate that map.
Okay.
There's no killer that dominates Coal Tower.
Yeah.
There are killers that can absolutely dominate Dead Dog.
Okay.
One of those being Nurse, where if you're playing Nurse on Dead Dog, you win. If you know what you're doing, you win. There isn't really a you win. And Huntress is also extremely strong on Dead Dog.
Yeah, she can basically negate the main building.
But if you were to take every killer and then like average it out, I would say that Dead Dog is pretty close to a 50-50.
Yeah, I don't know why it doesn't really get brought up that much for some reason. Because the way I've always looked at it is like, if the survivors know what they're doing and go to the town side, that's like their side.
Yeah,
but the town side and the main building, that's like the survivor side, and then the side with the gallows is more the killer side. Not always, but for the most part.
Most of the time.
Yeah. And then the breakable walls, I mean, some killers don't even break the walls because it's a bad idea to. Everyone's always like, oh, break the walls. It's like, well, some of the walls, some killers just don't need to. Hell, for some of them, it's detrimental. I never break the wall at the top of the main building as Chucky.
Because you basically have a guarantee to force them to vault, where you also vault.
Well, no. If they vault the window before I make it, I just back up and go out the other side. They can't. Unless they're holding the window spot, which most people don't. They don't know where I went. So it's a 50-50 on if they go left or right. If they go left, I'm watching the corner with my camera. If they go right, I'm watching the corner with my camera as they come up the stairs. If they go left, I'll catch them before they get the window.
Right.
So breaking the door actually hurts him But that's the thing. It's like I feel like there's some other killers who can do stuff like that.
Yeah, there's definitely a couple.
Yeah, it's weird. Like I never really thought about it. And Dead Dog is also like it was a map built for Deathslinger, so like there's a lot of spots he can shoot through that like other maps don't account for.
Yeah.
So it's like it's okay for him, and then like some of the newer killers, like a lot of them can slide off a lot of the stuff they need to, and I mean Unknown can get some pretty sick shots. Larry has like a god camera on that map, like 2 or 3. Like right above the saloon is one where he can watch the top of the building and like both the gens and loops in front of it.
Right.
Yeah, Dead Dogs. Why does no one ever talk about that? I feel like it's a perfectly designed map. The more I think about it,
I like it a lot. I think it's a pretty good map.
So moving on to my final question before we get into the community ones. I'm sure you do, but do you have any stats like currently for Huntress?
Do you want my Huntress stats?
Yeah, I would love your Huntress stats. Give me your trading card.
All right.
Someone should do that.
Which one do you want first?
Is it Hatchet? Is it Hatchet's hit or is it Hatchet's or downs?
24-meter downs, and then I have Hatchet's thrown.
It's Hatchet's thrown. Of course it is. It's still impressive, but what's Hatchet thrown?
All right, give me 1 second.
Someone should do that, by the way. If any artists are listening, you should make trading cards for content creators.
Gosh, that'd be so fire.
With like
DVD stats on them?
Yeah, with like their DVD stats, that would be so fucking cool.
That'd be cool. All right. I have 174,167 hatchets thrown.
That is surprisingly low.
Yeah. Again, haven't actually been playing Huntress that long.
No, fair enough. It's just, I don't know.
People think I've been playing it for like 5 years, and I'm like, we're barely pushing on 2.5.
What's the highest?
And that's not even like full time.
What's the highest? I'm genuinely curious now.
I think Ralph has like 800k.
Oh my god. I was thinking like
I think he's nearing 900k.
Yeah, I was thinking like 250 or 250k for you, if I was honest.
That's fair. Not many people are there. Yeah, turns out it takes a long time to hit those numbers. Yeah, Ralph's at 870,000.
There's got to be someone who's just sitting there throwing hatchets over and over and over again.
Maybe one person, but I doubt that they committed for long enough to get anywhere on the leaderboard.
I am insane enough. I would do it.
No, fair enough.
And then downs with 24 meters.
That one I am at. Where is it? Where's the stat?
I wish it was just
2,930.
Yeah, I could see it. I wish it was just hits.
We all do.
I bring this up a lot. Some of the track stats are so stupid.
It's because they're purely based on the achievements.
Yeah. Do you know what twins is?
What is twins?
It's hitting a survivor while Victor is on them.
Oh. Well, I know like Wesker's is throwing one survivor into another survivor.
Is it really? I didn't know.
Yeah, because that's what the achievement is. The achievement is doing that 10 times.
I think I've done that like 1 time or like 2 times on accident.
Yeah. Yeah, all the stats that are tracked through Steam are based on the achievements because that's what the game automatically keeps tracking even after you get the achievement.
Yeah.
That's also why some stats that you'll see like what is it? There's one that's like recent where like in reality you should have like thousands of them, but because it's a new stat, you only have like 1,000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I forget which one it is, but
Chucky's is funny because since they didn't change the achievement when they got rid of manual scamper, so there's some people at the top of the leaderboard that probably shouldn't be at the top of the leaderboard anymore.
Yeah,
because it's a hit 3 seconds after scampering, which is really fucking hard now. So there's like someone on there I think with like 10k, and it's like there is no way in hell I'm ever getting that. I get like maybe 2 a night. It is
It'd be like that.
It's not an easy thing to hit anymore. The survivor knows what they're doing. Just stop moving. That's what you do.
Yeah, I have 10 of those.
10 of them, I think. Oh, I just switched to Steam like a couple months ago, and Windows Store didn't track it, even though it has achievements.
It's because they track differently. Like through Steam, when your profile's public, you can see the stats publicly because it keeps tracking through the API and not like the game directly. There's a whole thing.
Yeah, I really wish. I brought this up many times. I really wish they would just add an in-game tracker for stuff.
I want an in-game leaderboard.
Do you know the reason they said the reason they gave for why they won't do it?
Actually, no. What was the reason?
They gave a reason in an AMA. It's because they don't want to start everyone at 0. They feel it wouldn't be fair to the veteran players. Which is dumb.
But what do you mean they can't pull up previous stats? Because they have them.
Regardless of that point, I still think it's... Even if they had to, for whatever technical reason, start us all at 0, I don't think anyone would give a fuck.
No, because we have Tricky anyways. Yes, what? Give me.
Yeah,
I want it.
Like, if you can do it, do it. Like, and clearly you can do it. Because you showed stats. You showed the head popping stats like a few months ago.
Well, they show like a bunch of stats. They've shown crazy stats that they have the information.
It would just be nice.
They have the information.
The only thing I can think of, like legitimately, the reason they won't do it, and based on what they said about MMR, I think is the actual reason. They don't want people to feel bad.
Yeah.
Because they said the reason they hid MMR was because they didn't want people ego boosting. I'm paraphrasing what they said, but they said they didn't want people to hold it against other players. Ironically, and I've said this many times, that had the opposite effect. Because it's hidden, anyone can say their MMR is super high. It doesn't matter. And there's nothing any of us can do to disprove it.
Yeah, literally.
For example, do I have high MMR? Well, I win 80% of my matches. So probably. I don't fucking know though. Yeah. Just give us stats behavior, please.
Please, I want them.
All right. On to, unless there's any other stats you want to share, by the way.
I can tell you that I am on the pretty high up on the leaderboard for generators repaired with no perks equipped.
That's a stat?
Yep, I have 308.
Fuck, is that a stat? But okay.
It's because it's an LED achievement.
Why is that an LED achievement?
Couldn't tell you. Something to do with her perks and lore. Something. I don't know. Yeah, it's finish 8 generators and escape a trial.
Uh-huh.
With no perks equipped.
Okay. Sure.
There you go. There's a random stat for you.
Sure, that's LED. All right. Sure. To the viewer questions. I asked Twitter, I asked YouTube, and I asked my Discord. First comes from Gummy Peach Rings.
Hi, Gummy.
God damn it, Gummy. What if Huntress was a giant hatchet and she threw mini versions of herself instead?
Is it bad that I've heard this question before?
I'm sure. Yeah, probably. Do you have a response to that question?
It would be a really funny April Fool's joke.
Make it an April Fool's skin. I would buy the shit out of it.
Just T-post Huntresses coming out of a hatchet. That'd be a really funny April Fool's joke for a day.
Yeah, just do what Overwatch does with the googly eyes.
Exactly. So, that peak comedy right there.
From Revium actually has a few. From Revium, would you add any new mechanics to Huntress to add more room for add-on diversity?
Honestly, no. I think she's perfectly simplistic in her kit. I think adding anything else or removing anything would ruin her.
Bouncing off of that question, an add-on design I've always thought about for most of the projectile killers. I wish every projectile killer had like a bounce add-on.
Yeah, people have wanted that for a long time. I don't agree with it for Huntress.
Really? You don't think it would be fun to like ricochet a hatchet off a tile?
It would be, but it would be unbelievably broken.
Yeah, for her, maybe.
It would be. It would be so strong.
Yeah, I've always wanted it for Clown, personally. I think it makes sense for him.
That would be funny.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, plus it's like we have Unknown that does that.
yeah, it's true. That's part of the reason why I wanted them to add it, because Unknown just proved they could.
I mean, we knew they could with Trickster.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it would just be way too strong.
Okay, fair enough. From Revium again. What are your thoughts on the add-ons like Shiny Pin, which increase the Huntress moves? Oh, I think this is part of the question.
Okay.
On add-ons like Shiny Pin, which increase the Huntress movement speed while holding a hatchet. Do you think extra movement speed while holding a zoning tool is a healthy tuning knob for add-ons to change?
Honestly, yeah. Because you're giving up the options of things like extra wind up or extra cooldown. You're basically just affecting different strengths of the power.
I think we didn't really get into it with the whole zoning debate. I brought it up a little bit. Do you think Hunter should be punished if she zones too long?
No, I think she'd be too weak.
Okay.
I think zoning is the only reason that she's even hits B tier.
Okay.
If she couldn't zone, like if she was punished for zoning, she'd be way worse.
Well, I'm talking like if she holds the hatchet for like, and you could argue the punishment is she's not hitting anything, but I'm talking like she zones for like 10 seconds.
Yeah, see, I do give that argument of like you're not hitting anything, of like if you're wasting if it takes the killer 10 seconds of holding a hatchet for them to finally get the hit, I would debate that those 10 seconds are past punishment.
But it's not very fun to go against. That would be the argument I'm sure most people would make.
No, it's not. It's definitely not fun to go against, but
because I mean that comes into the debate of the 1v4 versus the 1v1 a little
bit. You start being able to abuse a lot of things when things like that get added.
Yeah, it's a bigger question with like killer design. It's like I bring up Chucky and Dustlinger a lot for this, where it's like their 1v1s are really, really oppressive, but their 1v4s are kind of ass. But
yeah,
the 1v1 is all anyone really cares about when it shouldn't be.
Because that's what's like the most fun part of a killer.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I don't think her zoning should be changed.
Okay. Last one from Rev, I assume. What would you do to Iridescent Head and Soldier's Puttee to make them more interesting for Huntress players? We talked about that a little bit earlier, but
yeah, like I said, I would be fine with making Puttee base kit and removing some of the buffs that she gets. Also, bring back Leather Loop and stuff. I don't know why they got rid of those add-ons.
Did they just get rid of them, or did they change them?
They changed them to be the haste add-ons.
Oh, yeah. I think they got rid of them because people were like stacking them and getting like 10 or 11 hatchets.
But yeah, that was because they increased base kit hatchets, so they just like shouldn't have done, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like 7 is fine, I guess, but like I don't know. That was a weird decision on them, in my opinion.
Yeah, I
think Puttee should be base kit. I think it would help her. You could also be like slightly more strategic in when you reload if you do that, because you suddenly have the ability to cross a map faster as a 115 with no hatchets. So it's a trade. It's not really
I got you.
Constant buff. But it at no point does it nerf you, if that makes sense. So that's another thing with Huntress. She doesn't really have any add-ons other than Eerie Head that like nerf her in any way. Like none of like her windups don't have downsides. Her cooldowns don't have downsides. Reload speed doesn't have a downside. So that's another thing that's a little interesting with her that I think could be maybe looked at with her add-ons.
I think more killer add-ons should have downsides.
I agree. I think there should be a healthy like 50-50 split of every killer where it's like half of them have downsides and then half of them don't.
I've said the same thing for... It's one thing I like about Dark Arrogance. It was like the first like... what's the word I'm looking for? It was the first like self-nerfing perk to a degree. Like it has a benefit, but it also nerfs you.
Yeah. I think that should be more common in add-ons.
Yeah, and perks personally on both sides. I think we should definitely take some notes from Dark Arrogance. Not the other notes of the reason it can't be very strong is because Bamboozle exists, but that's a different topic.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, people were like, make Dark Arrogance like 60%. Y'all know it can be combined with other perks, right? That's why they didn't buff it that much. From LSD O'Neill. How does it feel to main the most mained killer? Not throwing shade, it's a genuine question.
Honestly, it was something that I hadn't thought about for a really long time. Like, I just didn't care. I just put it because I thought she was fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of expected to get more hate from her because of how much she was played.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, now I really like it because I'm seen as a unique person under the most played killer.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool.
You like carved out your niche within the broader Huntress community, I feel.
Yeah. So now I like it. Now I think it's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Code, IGN Code. I feel like I say their name wrong. Is it Code or Cody?
It's Code.
It's Code. Okay, I thought so. Okay, all right. Code asks that they said that in the question. Code asks, are cross maps cooler or orbitals cooler?
Cross maps.
Any logistical reason or just cause?
Just cause. No. Orbitals are cool, but they're more consistent. Once you learn the distance, once you get it down, you can get them consistent using like the FOV trick and other things. Do I think they can be combined with things like obviously like double taps? Do I think those are super cool? Yeah, but like orbitals on their own, they're cool, but you can kind of finesse your way into getting some. Whereas cross maps have a lot more variables, and a lot more possibility in the sense of a single hatchet.
Okay. Yoshi Howe asks, once again, we kind of went into this question already, but why does Huntress throw beach whales that are disguised as hatchets?
Yeah, so I mentioned it earlier, but just to reiterate it, basically, they tried making her hitboxes accurate, and she just didn't function as a killer anymore. Your hatchets would go through people, and she became very unplayable in very many ways. So it is unfortunately an evil necessary.
Yeah.
Necessary evil. So that's what I meant to say.
This question's already been asked, so you don't have to answer it. I just want to get their name out there so they know I read it. Ramin My Lammy, what a name. How do you feel about Eerie Head add-on, which you already answered? And one of these requires me to send you an image.
Oh no.
Okay, hang on a second. And I will show it on stream once I find it. I tweeted a lot today.
I was gonna dig.
Okay. Okay, I sent you the image. The question from Lieutenant Boosted is, so chat can see this. The question is, what is?
Yes, that's my answer.
What the fuck am I looking at? Is that
You're looking
Wesker?
At Wide Wesker.
Is that Wesker?
Yeah, that's Wesker.
I thought it was Jake for a second.
I believe that is Wesker holding a knife. And being blinded at a pallet while being big and wide.
I love these sometimes. My cat is coughing.
Yeah, this is definite. That's a great image. I love that image.
I mean, it's in your Discord now, so you can save it and use it for whatever you need to. I don't know what you'll use it for, but that's not for me to ask or judge.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, I will find the YouTube questions now because they are more annoying to get a hold of. Because YouTube Studios does not have community stuff on it for some stupid reason.
Yeah, we love YouTube.
Okay, from how do I even pronounce this? Gonter O'Dum. If I mispronounce that, I'm so sorry. What are your favorite and least favorite cosmetics on Huntress? You already answered this a little bit, but some of these are going to be repeats. I don't let people know the exact questions I ask. So,
yeah, that's fair.
But
yeah, number one supremacy, boarhead supremacy, boarhead supremacy.
Astral Nest TV asks, regarding her recent buffs, do you think Behavior achieved their goal of making her easier and more forgiving, and the potential and problems of either yes or no?
I would say, without going deep into it, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think they pretty much achieved what they wanted to achieve, with less downsides than would typically arise from them doing this sort of thing with other killers.
Mm-hmm. Last YouTube question from Zarkov. We already kind of went into this, but if you want to reiterate a little bit more, thoughts on if a crosshair option was added in game, would you use it or no? So not our crosshair is available, but if they added the option to turn one on in game, would you use it?
Yeah. So honestly, no. Mostly for the reason of I like my clips without crosshairs on them.
Mm-hmm.
I think aesthetically they look better. Again, I don't care if people know that I use a crosshair. I literally have it as a Twitch command. Like, people knowing doesn't bother me. It's just the aesthetic point of crosshairs in my clips and in my content.
Okay.
I would prefer it wasn't there.
On to the Discord questions. Leon Wright asks, what are the collisions like on her right now? And how bad are the Toba hitboxes with her?
Collisions on the right?
I think I think they mean because the hatchet comes from...
They mean because like the hatchet used to come from the left?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much fixed. There was actually one update that happened where they made it perfectly center, and the animation was really weird, so you could tell.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe now it is still extremely close to center, but the animation is less broken. So a lot better than it used to be.
Mm.
Pretty much not noticeable anymore.
Okay.
It's pretty dead on.
And the Toba hitboxes?
Honestly, Toba hitboxes are more accurate than you would think. For hatchets, they're really not the worst in the game. They're not the greatest. Actually, well, I say that, but recently they did make a really awful change. So the trees in the map that used to have like the really big green leaves,
mm-hmm.
just like really big leaves, those used to not have collision with hatchets, and they do now for some reason.
Mm.
So that's one that I'm not happy about.
It's like the bushes.
But
God, I hate the bushes on Toba.
The like total overall, they're really not that bad.
Okay.
I mean, you can throw under main, so if y'all have seen that clip, then
last question from Phoenix Taru, our local Singularity main. A while ago, Behavior tried to change the shape of the hatchet hitbox to fit the size of... Oh, yeah, we kind of talked about this already. To fit the size of the hatchet instead of being a sphere. Do you think they should revert the idea to address some of the funky hits she can get sometimes? Once again,
no.
we've addressed this a few times. But yeah, I know you say no, I say no, because it...
Even functionality aside, if it worked perfectly as intended...
Mm-hmm.
It would still feel awful as the Huntress. It would make her gameplay feel really bad.
It would also make like long range hits almost impossible.
So bad. It's so hard. It would make a lot of things worse. Just overall, no.
And I get where people are coming from, where they want it, but I
guess the other thing that I have to say about that is the quote-unquote abuse of hitbox is a learned skill. Learning her hitbox from the Huntress perspective and learning how to use it to hit people around corners in that way is a learned skill. You don't just do it right away. And it still takes a lot of precision, sometimes more precision than if you just went for normal Hatchet. So I would say no.
Okay. And yeah, I mean, yeah. Once again, we I think we talked for like 20 minutes about it.
Yeah.
But that's all the viewer questions. Unless anyone else in Twitch chat has a question, I think we're going to start wrapping up. Also, hi Hero, I see you there. What was I going to say? But Squirtle, I do want to say thank you again for coming on. It has been what's the word? It's just been a pleasure. Like, honestly.
That's fair. I like talking about Huntress.
After some interactions we've had on Twitter, I didn't think you would say yes, if I'm honest with you.
I'm down. I mean,
I don't know. You probably don't remember any of them, honestly. It's Twitter. I kind of forget them as days go on.
I also argue a lot with people on Twitter. Like, that's pretty common, so.
I don't even remember what the argument we had was. I legitimately don't, if I'm honest with you.
That's fair. I mean, that's the other thing. Like, honestly, I'm one of those people where, like, even if I think that your opinions on a game are, like, horrid, I'm not going to assume that you're a bad person. Now, if you call me slurs because of my opinion, we have a different thing occurring. But no, I don't equate gameplay opinions to personality types.
Some people do for some reason.
Never understood that one. But.
Spoiler: if you have a question, go ahead and ask it. But yeah, like it's I don't know. They're just like there's some people that I talked about this in the past. There's some people who think like a lot of people hate me for some reason. Which I mean, maybe, but like the reasons they give are so dumb. There's a lot of people who think Davude hates me. There's a lot of people who think Bran hates me. There's a lot of people who think Pixel hates me. Because they all hate Chucky.
Yeah.
So like, oh, they must hate Bennett. No. We're all of us. Most of us are pretty cool. I don't hate anyone in the community. Okay, that's a stretch, but you know what I mean. I don't hate 99% of the people in the community.
Yeah, that's fair.
Even my bad commenters sometimes.
I mean, yeah, like I'm friends with people who absolutely despise Huntress with all of their being, but like, obviously they don't dislike me just because I play her.
Some people just can't separate it for some reason. I will never understand it.
Literally.
Spoiler asks, how does at Squirtle equate pay to win with Were-Elk and Huntress? This is not the only killer to complain about on it, but do you think it was that way? You answered this earlier during the
Yeah, I answered it.
But
pretty much, yeah, Were-Elk it was very pay to win in my opinion. Like, as much as like a skin can be pay to win in the sense of like, it was genuinely quieter. Like there was no debating that it was much hard. The other thing that I think people also don't realize, the more you play against Huntress, the more ingrained the sounds become to you. You hear the ding, you hear the pull up, like the sounds that she makes, and you instantly equate it with Huntress. As soon as you change it, you start leaning away from that. So even with like the Yaga skin, it's a different sound, so it's a little different. But the main thing is, one, it was quieter, but two, it's a lower frequency. It gets drowned out by other game ambient sounds significantly more than the higher frequency sounds do. That's why they choose higher frequency sounds for all of Huntress, is because they're more separated. So even now that it's like slightly more balanced out, I still think it's a little bit pay to win because of those lower frequencies. It's harder to hear when a lot of things are going on.
I think that the pay to win skin debate is, there's a line, and I feel like on release Were-Elk crossed it, but in general, like now, I don't think it's because I mean I can name a couple others. I mean I mentioned the Tiffany skin is technically pay to win. It depends on how you want to look at it though. Because she's
But like the other thing, I don't think any of them are pay to win enough to be like complaining about anymore.
Yeah, I would say that. If for anyone curious how Tiffany is pay to win, by the way, technically she's also pay to lose. Once this is the thing, it depends on who you ask. She's pay to win because her laughs are quieter than Chucky's. They're 2 decibels lower. Doesn't seem like much, but it matters. And she's pay to lose because her model is the same as Chucky's, or her hitbox is the same as Chucky's, but the model is smaller. So you'll hit shit you shouldn't. So it's very strange. But I wouldn't call it, like I said, even her I wouldn't call necessarily pay to win. It's like not so much of an advantage that it like will sway a game most of the time.
Yeah.
And I definitely feel like the Were-Elk, especially now, kind of falls into that to a degree.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because I feel like if we start calling like pay to win on certain skins, like we're just gonna get less skin variety, and I don't want that either.
You're right.
The Were-Elk is an impressive skin. It even came with its own Mori. Like it's so good.
It is a really cool skin. I need to buy it.
You don't own it?
No. I don't buy skins in this game. I don't spend money on this game.
How do you have the boar skin? Was that a tome?
It was an ancient event skin.
Oh.
It used to be an exclusive.
Oh.
And then they gave it to everyone. Actually, did they?
I might have it. I don't know.
Actually, no, but they put it in the store, I think.
Oh, yeah, it was probably one of those situations. They're probably going to do that with the Oni and Elodie skins soon.
Yeah, but yeah, no,
we're going to end this soon, I promise. But do you have thoughts on that kind of FOMO, by the way?
Fear of missing out, like exclusive stuff?
Yeah, but let me rephrase that. For like, because my opinion has always been, as long as it's earned, I think it's fine. So like, Oni
I don't
Elodie skins
like
during Blood Moon, I think are fine if they never come back to the shop. They will.
I'm in agreement. I think event skins not coming back was fine. I think event skins that you could earn. I think if you had to buy them, that's really where the fear of missing out stuff comes in. But if you could play to earn them during that time, I think it's fine. Like all the Halloween skins and stuff like that being earned and not bought. I think that's fine being limited. Okay. I think it adds incentive to playing. And they're cosmetic. They don't actually matter. Whereas as soon as you remove the incentive where you can just buy them whenever, it becomes significantly more like...
I always like, and some people can say I'm being not egotistical, but what's the word I'm looking for? I'm being like I'm trying to use them as a status symbol, but that's not my intention. My intention with it is like, I feel like players should be rewarded for playing during events and have like signs and shows.
Yeah, exactly. Like the incentives of playing the game during this time.
Yeah, it's like, oh, he's got that legacy skin from like year 3. It's like, oh, he's been playing for that long. Like I feel like stuff like that's fine. And
yeah,
like, do I feel for the people who can never get them? Like, kind of, but it is what it is.
Again, they're cosmetics. They don't affect gameplay. They don't. So.
Yeah, I was just curious on that. But with that, I don't really have anything else unless you have something to add.
I don't think so.
I never know. Some people are like, I'm gonna get on my soapbox for 20 minutes. Okay.
No, just play more Huntress. She's very fun if you play her to be fun.
Yeah, I would say that with most killers. If you enjoy Trapper, fuck it, play Trapper. I don't care if he's F tier, play him. You don't have to win every match. Okay, I'm gonna fucking say that here. You do not have to win every match.
Yeah, that one.
If your equation to winning is having fun is winning, then play Nurse every match. Like, honestly. Like, oh, but I can't win with my meme build. Yeah, you can't do that in most games. Like...
Yeah, pretty much.
If you're playing Valorant, all 5 of you have a judge and just run it down a lane like and that's your idea of fun. You should like no one's gonna complain they're not winning doing that. Okay, most people won't complain they're not winning doing that.
Yeah.
Just have fun, man. Moments is what you should be going for, not the result necessarily. But in any case, Squirtle, I'll have all your links and stuff below for people who want to follow you. If you aren't, you should. I wasn't for some reason. I thought I was following your Twitch. I was not. How often do you stream, by the way?
Wow, how dare you? I haven't streamed in like since 2v8. Not gonna lie to you.
I noticed that.
I haven't really been playing 2v8 at all much.
Oh.
Kind of on a little burnout phase, also because I started college again. So just a lot of stuff going on. Like not a lot of interest to play the game in my free time because of where the game state is at.
Okay, understandable.
But
with that being the case, I appreciate you coming on even more then.
Yeah, of course. Like I said, I still like talking about Huntress. I will talk about her for a very long time. I just don't necessarily always want to play her.
Fair enough. But yeah, on that note, I think we're going to call it one there for the people on YouTube. And yeah, thank you guys for watching like you always do. I see my analytics. You guys watch, the people who do watch these like almost all the way through every time. It's humbling. In any case, I love y'all. Have a good one. And yeah, bye.